Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're getting into 3 hours of some horrifying Reddit threads, and these Reddit threads are downright some of the most disturbing, terrifying, and like the title says, horrifying Reddit threads I have ever read. So you're going to want to make sure to stick around, and I appreciate you stopping by Means the World. To make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. The channel subscriber goal is 1 million subscribers before the end of the year, so please subscribe. And alright, like the title says, this video is going to be 3 hours long, so sit back, relax, grab a drink or grab a snack, and without further ado, let's get into 3 hours of some horrifying Reddit threads. I'm starting to strongly dislike my daughter. To start off everything, I am a widow and have 3 children, but in this post I'll be focused on my 2 youngest daughters, Leah, who is female 14, and Maya, who is female 18. Fake names, of course. For a little background, Leah was R-worded by 4 men back in December. How this incident occurred was Maya threw a party while I was working the night shift, and 4 of the boys that were attending at this party assaulted Leah. It's been devastating, to say the least. Leah has lost all of her spark and quit cheer. Plus, on top of that, she opted out of her freshman year by just continuing to do courses online. She doesn't sleep in her room anymore but with me, and just wears my late husband's hoodies all day, and I feel so helpless as a mother because I don't know how I can help her. Throughout the investigation, a lot of things came out regarding Maya's part in this. She did not set up her little sister. However, I feel like she severely neglected her, and all of this could have been avoided if she just followed my rules. I never approved the party. I left her in charge of watching Leah, and before you guys say, well, you're her mother, it's not her job to watch your kid, but the thing is, it was her job. I pay her really well to look after her sister while I work nights. It's been an agreement we have for years. Leah is not special needs in any way. The only thing I asked of Maya is that she makes sure her sister does her homework and gets to bed at a reasonable time. The men that assaulted Leah, Maya invited herself, she knew them personally, and knew they had affiliates to gangs and did not care. Instead, what I found out in this investigation was she tried to put Leah with one of these boys, and Leah was not interested. The boy was harassing Leah all night, trying to get her to kiss him. Then Leah had enough and went to her room. And the moment Maya left the house to go to McDonald's, that same boy and his friends went up to my daughter's room and R-worded her. The worst part about this to me is that people that were at the party heard her yelling and did not do anything but just assumed a couple were arguing upstairs. We didn't know what happened until the next morning when the party was over. Having her do a R-word kit was traumatizing for her and probably the worst moment as a parent for me. Then a couple of weeks later, she tested positive for a curable STD. My baby has been broken ever since, even though they did get those boys and all 4 pled guilty because they all had evidence on their phone. But it's still so extremely hard for Leah right now. Maya, on the other hand, has been remorseful, and Leah has no animosity towards her and doesn't blame her. Still loves her sister. But I don't know why for me, I'm so angry at Maya, and I've been really trying to forgive her, but I can't as of now. I can't even look at her without not wanting to lash out. Her prom is next weekend, and I honestly couldn't care less. She tries to have conversations with me, but it's hard for me to show any interest in them. I don't hate my daughter, I still love her, but I just have strong dislike for her right now. I've been reading self-help books trying to learn how to address this properly. I feel like I can't open up to anyone about this in real life. I guess this is maybe a cry for help as a mother. Edit. Thank you all for the feedback. The most repetitive question I'm seeing is if Maya still watches Leah. The answer is hell no. I don't trust her anymore, and it might take years to get it back. I'm on a leave of absence currently. Also, Leah is not in therapy as of right now. She expressed to me that she's not ready for that. I think after the sentencing, she might be open to it. Maya is also in therapy but skips a lot of appointments, and I'm in therapy too, and it's been helping me remain calm throughout this situation and not want to lash out at Maya. But the number one advice that I'm seeing in here that I'm strongly considering is sending Maya to my parents' house for a while and get some space from her. Sorry, quick second edit. For the ones asking if Maya is in a gang, to my knowledge, she isn't. The most I've ever caught her doing was smoking some pot and vaping. I also don't want to think Maya would ever intentionally set up her sister to be brutally assaulted. So I'm leaning towards Maya genuinely was being plain neglectful that night. Also, I feel like it would have come up in the investigation if she intentionally set up Leah. Also, the boy Maya was trying to set up Leah with was 17 at the time. He's 18 now, and the other 3 were grown men. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, therapy ASAP, all of you. And the OP responds and says, yes, of course. I already have been going to therapy way before this all, and Lee on the other hand doesn't want to do therapy just yet, and I want to respect her boundaries. Maya has been skipping a lot of her appointments, but she's also in personal therapy as well. And someone else says, wait, she threw a party while babysitting and left? Please tell me you actually enforced some serious punishment there. I'm confused. You said Maya didn't set her up, yet Maya had been trying to get Leah to interact with this boy. And then she left the house? She's an adult. That's honestly valid grounds for getting kicked out. No wonder she's skipping therapy. There's no consequences to her actions. Act a little remorseful and everything is hunky-dory. She still gets prom, still gets all of her privileges. Little sister gets all of the trauma. Has she ever had actual accountability in life? And someone else says, how do you know this wasn't a gang initiation? My little sister was gang R-worded, but the guy who took her to the party and left her there, it was his way into the gang. Are you sure your daughter isn't a gang member now? I was a bad influence when I was a teenager. I smoked pot and did drugs, but I would never leave my little sister alone. One time she called me scared and I left where I was to go to get her immediately. I warned her about the guy who took her to that party. It caused horrible damage to my sister. PTSD which hasn't ever gone away. She's 34 now. I believe it was also the event that triggered her schizophrenia. Now she just has reoccurring hallucinations of being R-worded her entire life. I would investigate your eldest daughter further. Sounds like a gang initiation to me. And then we get an update a few days later, actually about a week later, and let's get into it. A lot has progressed in the past couple of days, and it would only be right to update you guys on what happened and get some advice from you guys regarding everything. But to answer multiple questions I received from my last post about why hasn't Maya been further punished. To put it quite simply, Maya was arrested the night of Leah's attack. She was charged with felony child endangerment and 2 misdemeanors. The judge was very nice to her and made her pay a $2,000 fine, 60 hours of community service, and 3 years probation. Plus, I took her car, but after this update, I maybe should have given her a harsher punishment. But back to the update. On Thursday afternoon, me and Maya got into a fight. The dispute happened because Leah came to me virtually upset and on the verge of tears, because 5 people messaged her that day, expressing condolences about her attack. Leah had been very clear she doesn't want anyone that she knows to know that she was the victim of the attack. Upon further investigation, it turns out Maya told a group chat of 27 people that Leah was the victim. Leah vocalized to me how humiliated she feels and that she can't ever go back to school next year. I, of course, then go confront Maya about it. She kept saying I was overreacting and that Leah was being dramatic. I tried to reason with her to see how she hurt her sister, and she did not see the issue. She stopped me off mid-lecture from me and said, "Jesus Christ, Mom, you need to let her deal with this shit instead of always rushing to her defense. Leah is not different from other women in the world that deal with our word. At least they don't make it their entire personality like she does. Also, she's fine. I literally overheard her talk to a boy on the phone last night." It just clicked for me at that moment that she was not actually remorseful at all, and that I just witnessed her mask slip. I just responded with "pack your shit up," and that she'll be staying with my parents until I allow her back. And that's exactly what I did. But the next morning, I got a text from Maya to meet at a therapist appointment that was later that day. Looking back, I wish I had never gone because her therapist, majority of the visit, only saw her point of view. But at the start of the appointment, it opened up with Maya apologizing and explaining her thought process of why she told her friends, and it was because she was venting. Plus, she didn't think of it as a big deal because it's a public case that was on the news, and Leah seems fine with these days. Leah is listed as a Jane Doe and not named nowhere, but I digress. We then get into the nitty-gritty of it all. Maya then tells me in front of the therapist that she feels emotionally neglected by me and that I never seemed to care about her trauma when it came to the situation, which is for her is having to stay in jail for a weekend and losing one of her friends, which is one of Leah's literal R-wordists. I wish I can say I'm joking, but I'm dead serious. We were talking about that for the first 30 minutes. Her therapist was guilt-tripping me for not being more emotionally there for Maya, and that I should try to see her as mom since their father is no longer with us. But call me an awful parent, but I don't want to be emotionally there for Maya if it involves me having to help her more in the friendship of the person that ruined her sister's life. The therapist was on one, especially since she kept referring to what happened to Leah as an accident, or that Leah seems happier these days, because that's what Maya has been telling her. When Leah is quite literally high off antidepressants and still scores extremely low on the mental health evaluation. But I finally just had an outburst. Feel free to skip over the next paragraph because there's a massive trigger warning. I get very graphic here, but I'm just reiterating what I said. What I said to both Maya and her therapist was, quote, "I think it's kind of disgusting that the two of you are refusing to acknowledge Leah's trauma in this and keep referring to it as an accident. You spent a weekend in jail while your sister was in the hospital suffering from something your friend did to her. Ironically enough, if you ever listen to Leah, she has said that friend of yours was the most violent towards her during the attack and was the catalyst for the majority of injuries she sustained, including strangling her. So for you guys to sit here and berate me for not caring that you lost your friend because of something terrible your friend did to your sister is absolutely disgusting. My biggest regret right now is helping you obtain a lawyer. I should have let you rot in that cell and let you figure it out yourself." Maya started sobbing in the office at this point and saying it wasn't fair that I blamed her for what happened to Leah. She told me the only thing she was trying to do was have Leah come out of her shell because she kept hovering next to her at the party. The therapist then interjects and asks Maya, how did Leah respond to her when she apologized? Maya, in such a defensive manner, says, "Apologize for what? I didn't R-word her." Even the therapist was shocked when she said that. And at that point, I heard enough and I stood up, threw my hands up and left. I haven't spoken to Maya since then, and this was Friday afternoon. Maya has been texting me and calling me, begging to come home so she can apologize to both me and Leah. But I don't know at this point. I never thought I would be that parent that will go no contact with my daughter. But I don't know if I can stomach being around her. I can't trust her, and she's not remorseful whatsoever about what happened. A part of me wants to try to make it work for the sake of Leah, because she asked yesterday if she ruined our family, and that broke my heart. Leah loves and looks up to Maya, and I don't think she can comprehend at this time that Maya also failed her. I'm just stuck. Or tell me if I'm wrong for not understanding Maya. I'm sorry for the not so happy update. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "She's even more rotten than I thought when reading your first post. Absolutely vile excuse of a human being. She's bordering on pure evil at this point. I have a younger sister, a teenager, and I would burn the whole world down if someone hurt her. If I acted like your older daughter, then I would expect my own mother to kill me on the spot. There is something seriously wrong with her. She doesn't need therapy appointments. She needs a team of professional and experienced psychologists or a psychiatrist to figure out what is wrong with her. This behavior is not okay or normal. I'm so sorry for your youngest daughter. Your big sister should be her #1 supporter in the world. I'm so sorry all of this happened. You know what? You need to cut your older completely off. She gave up the right to be supported by you in any way when she not only put her own sibling in danger, but also feels no remorse for her actions and even misses her friendship with her sister's R-wordist." And someone else says, "You are not in the wrong. You want to be there for your children, but clearly Maya cannot take responsibility for the role she played in this. I would like to say that it's maybe her not wanting to truly realize it and acknowledge it for fear of the guilt that would consume her, but it is clear she just doesn't feel remorse. Honestly, I'm so glad her mask slipped in front of the therapist too. Hopefully that gave them the insight that maybe, just maybe, they've been fed lies. Still very weird and horrible for them to treat the situation that way, given what they seem to know already about the attack. Also, I'm curious about your other child. Do they live in the house or near? Do they know what happened to Leah? I'm just wondering about her support right now. She obviously has you, but especially with her thinking she ruined the family, I'm wondering if she has anyone else close that she can lean on. Also, with some people now knowing and there being gang affiliation involved, I'm wishing for love and safety for you and Leah. No one deserves that, especially not a child who is supposed to be safe in her own home." And the OP responds and says, "So my oldest is my son. He got married a month before everything went down, and I didn't want to drag him in too much about Maya, because I want him to enjoy the newlywed phase with his wife. Him and his wife are very supportive, and his wife takes Leah all the time for sleepovers or just to get her out of the house." And this is the OP's response to a comment regarding her reaction after finding out Leah was SA'd. And let's get into the OP's comment. The OP says, "So I should say what happened that morning at this point. I come home at 8:30-ish a.m. from work, and my house was trashed, and a couple of Maya's friends were still there. I, of course, argued with Maya for a bit about throwing a party, and I then go check on Leah, and she wasn't in her room, but her sheets were bloody, so I thought maybe it was time of the month and that she was showering or sleeping in my bed. But when I checked my room, I did not see her. I started calling Leah, and her phone did ring, and I heard it come from the closet. It's a walk-in, and I see her wrapped in a blanket like a cocoon. I then shake her to wake up, and she wasn't waking up, and then I tried to unwrap, and that's when I noticed her scalp bleeding and saw abrasions around her neck. So I started screaming, someone call 911, and Leah starts to kind of wake up in the ambulance, and she starts crying, and the first thing she told me is that Maya's friend R-worded her, and that she can't get up because she's in so much pain. When the police and ambulance show up, and I honestly didn't care about Maya in that moment, all I told her was to be honest with the police, and she should be fine. I didn't know what I know at this point. They take her to the precinct, and the cops interrogated her, and after getting a medical report for what happened to Leah, they decided to charge her with child endangerment. I did not see Maya's reaction to when they told her about what happened to Leah. But when she saw Leah, once she got out of jail, She gave her a big hug, and I thought it was a sweet moment. The only red flag that stands out to me from that time is Maya did not cooperate fully about giving names because she said she forgot. Luckily, DNA results from the crime scene and on Leah, which all 4 of the Leah's artists were already in the system for other crimes. One even being on probation, so they were easy to find, and it was dominoes effect after that. And then we get an update 2 weeks later titled, Moms of Depressed Teenagers. What are ways you help them? And the OP says, I know I'm probably not alone with dealing with this, but my daughter, mid-teenagers, has been so extremely depressed. Rightfully so. She went through 2 traumatic events in the span of 4 years at her young age. She was essayed back in December, and she lost her dad 4 years ago. I just remember when I was young, I felt like the world was against me, and I had both of my parents on my side, and I've never been through an assault, so I can't comprehend what she's going through right now. This morning, I overheard her crying in the bathroom, and I asked her if she was fine, and she quickly said she's okay. It just makes me feel so helpless as a mom that I can't help her or take away any of that pain she's feeling. I can't even fully relate to her because I haven't been SA'd before and both my parents are still alive. So I feel like I'm a horrible mom because I can't guide her and help her with the situation at hand. I feel like as a mom I should have all the answers and I don't. I just know in her head every time I try to comfort her she thinks, what is this woman talking about? Because I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about 99.9% of the time. So any other moms that can relate, please drop some helpful tips. And then 10 days later, the OP posts, would I be the asshole if I kept my daughter's inheritance from my late husband? And the OP says, I have 3 kids, male 24, female 18, and mid-teenager's daughter. My late husband died very unexpectedly 4 years ago due to COVID. He didn't have a will, but we had a life insurance policy that provided a $360,000 death benefit. As his spouse, I received a full amount. I decided to divide the money 4 ways. I would get $120,000 and each of my kids would get $80,000. At the time, my daughters were both minors, so I told them they could access their full amounts when they turned 18. However, if they ever wanted to do something pricey, I would allow them to use some of their share. Most of their needs were taken care of by me. My son was over 18, so I gave him his share right away. This arrangement was a verbal arrangement, and I intended to follow through with it fully. Recently, however, my middle daughter, we will call her Maya, was arrested in December for child endangerment because she severely neglected her little sister, leading to something awful happening under her care. She had to use some of her $80,000 to pay for lawyer and court fees, which left her with about $65,000. Fast forward to today, and my youngest daughter is still struggling significantly. During her checkups, she scores very low on mental health evaluations and is on high dosages of antidepressants. She often jokes that if she were to tell us or the doctors how she truly feels, she would be put in a psych ward. Maya no longer lives with us, as I felt her presence was doing more harm than good to her sister. She's been staying with my parents for now, but has been begging me to give her the money I promised after she graduated. I've been hesitant to do so. My sister, who is familiar with the situation, believes Maya doesn't deserve the money and that I should use it to stay home longer with my youngest, who will be alone during the day once I return to work soon. With my youngest declining mental health and school being out, I'm very worried about her. Maya is about to go off to college, and I know most of the money would go towards that. However, I'm still very angry with Maya for the pain she caused her sister. I'm having a hard time making this decision. So, would I be the asshole if I kept her inheritance? I'm interested to hear everyone's perspective. Just be kind. Edit, I didn't expect so many comments, but I was reading through all of them, To the ones that are asking what would husband say if he was here, I honestly don't know. That's why I'm conflicted. A part of me wants to think he would honestly say for me to give the money to Maya so she could go to college because college was important to him. But also another part of me knows if he heard the details about what happened to Leah, he would be way brutal than I am and disown her permanently, so it's hard to make a call on what he would want me to do when I don't know. Tiny update. I saw a couple of comments that told me I should ask Leah. I didn't flat out ask her like it was her call. To avoid putting unnecessary pressure on her about what I should do, but she told me, "Mom, I think you should give it to her because I don't want her to be mad at me. She already blames me for getting kicked out. She still loves and cares about Maya. She doesn't blame her for what happened to her yet. The reason why I say yet is because I haven't sat down with her and helped her fully understand. What Maya did to her was wrong, and I'm honestly dreading it. She doesn't know what Maya has said about her, nor doesn't she know the true details on why she was arrested. In her head, she thinks Maya was arrested because she threw a party." And then we get another heartbreaking update 11 days later titled, "My daughter begged me to let her pass away." My daughter Leah has been having a tough time with the aftermath of her R-word last December. This past week has been particularly the worst for us. It started last Tuesday when a sheriff and another official visited our home. They informed us that one of Leah's R-wordists, the one who filmed the assault, had shared the video within a group, and now it's circulating on parts of the dark web. The video was filmed in Leah's room. It contained identifiable objects that revealed where she went to school, and I was devastated upon hearing this news. Leah's reaction surprised me. She didn't cry or show much emotion. Instead, she simply shrugged and said, "I figured," before just sitting there in silence. The officials reassured us that it's uncommon for perpetrators to surface in such cases, but they felt obligated to inform us for safety reasons. After they left, Leah resumed acting as if nothing had happened, almost overly cheerful. I attempted to discuss it with her several times, but she avoided the topic. This behavior persisted throughout the week until she unexpectedly revealed that she had written a victim impact statement and wanted to read it herself in court, rather than allowing the prosecutor to do so. She felt that since there was no trial, only the charges against the R-wordist were known, not the details of what she endured. Her statement is a detailed account of that horrific night, but she has yet to read it to me in its entirety because she breaks down in tears every time she tries. That moment was the only time I saw her express emotion all week, until Saturday night. That evening, Leah appeared unusually cheerful again, and mentioned going to bed early around 8 p.m. I didn't think much of it until I received a call from one of Leah's closest friend's mother. She was concerned because Leah's last message to her daughter was a note expressing love and asking her to check on her. I rushed to Leah's room and found she had attempted to drink a lot of ZyQuil. As a nurse, I knew she would recover, but seeing her wake up in the hospital was heartbreaking. She screamed, "Why couldn't you let me just pass away? I want to die, Mom. I'm tired of feeling their hands on me. I wanted to stop. Please let me pass away." They had to sedate her to calm her down. Following this, Lee was placed under a 72-hour psychiatric hold and subsequently transferred to a mental health facility with peers her age. The staff recommended extending her stay beyond the initial hold, but Leah had been struggling, especially with a male staff member, possibly a psychiatrist, who she says is asking invasive questions about her preferences, causing discomfort. Staff members inform me she isn't participating in group activities and appears standoffish. They even proposed restricting her ability to contact me as a consequence, though I requested they hold off on implementing such measures. I'm uncertain if the current inpatient setting is suitable, given Leah's apparent difficulty adjusting. Her plea for her to pass away continues to haunt me. It's a thought I can't shake. Leah's best friend shared additional details Leah had kept from me. There's a hurtful rumor circulating that Leah let a train be ran on her, leading to her involving the police out of embarrassment. Children can be so incredibly cruel. As far as my other daughter, Maya, I haven't spoken to her in 2 weeks, but I did recently discover why Leah feels indebted to her. 2 years ago, I found inappropriate messages on Leah's phone between her and Maya's ex-boyfriend. He expressed love for Leah and also compared her to Maya. He told her she was way prettier than Maya. When I told Maya, she was furious and broke up with him, but she believed Leah had betrayed her by engaging with her boyfriend, even though Leah was very young at the time and her boyfriend was nearly 18. Maya still avoided Leah for 3 months afterward, and despite Leah's efforts to apologize, Maya still holds a grudge. Leah blames herself for damaging their relationship because of this incident. I'm sharing this to get this off my chest. I've kept these struggles within our family to protect my daughters. I'm exhausted, constantly dealing with new challenges, and unsure how to mend them. Now I find myself in the difficult position of deciding whether Leah is mentally prepared to speak at her R-wordist sentencing. I fear she'll resent me for this decision, but I question if she's in a stable enough state to handle a potential traumatic event, because these boys actually have character witness. Update. So I read a lot of your responses and I agree. I don't think inpatient is for her. So I'll be getting her tomorrow when her 72-hour hold is up. I'm going to spend the day researching on the right therapist for her that specializes in cases like Leah. As far as letting Leah speak at her sentencing, I'm conflicted at that still. I know I can't shield her from the world, but I just have the biggest fear that my baby will pour her heart out in the courtroom and it will be the Brock Turner all over again, and they somehow just get the minimum sentence. And more information on the psych. So I talked to Leah further about what the psych said to her that made her uncomfortable. She told me when I left, they made her sit down with him one-on-one to basically debrief why she was there and what's causing her to have these thoughts, and she opened up to him and told her about the R word. However, he asked her if this was her only intimate experience, and she told him yes. But he kept questioning her like he didn't believe it was her only experience, and saying to her that he won't tell me if it wasn't that she can say it, and she kept having tell him no, this is her only experience. Then he kept asking about her intimate preference, if she was still attracted to men, and she just told him that she doesn't think about relationships right now. She just said that she felt weird about him asking a lot of questions about her intimate life when it was just those two alone in a room with the door closed. I'm not going to accuse the psych of being a creep, because maybe he was simply doing his job, but I feel like he should have known to have a female staff ask her those questions, or just have a woman present. He had to have seen her chart before he saw her. And update, a little positive update. I got Leah out of treatment center Wednesday, and I took her immediately to a mental health trauma care practice, and she met with the psychiatrist/consultation. She told me she doesn't think Leah wants to truly pass away, but is suffering with extreme PTSD and depression, and that her lack of sleep contributed to her psychotic break. The psychiatrist was also impressed how long she's been keeping it together. I really like the practice, and Leah does as well. It was cute. They gave her a little photo album of the therapist at the practice and let her choose which one she thinks she'll vibe the best with, and met her on the same day because she happened to be in. Her first session with her will be after the sentencing. She's on a sleeping medication now and has been sleeping a lot since she's been home. The inpatient facility was not for her whatsoever. I read the reviews on this place, and it had really horrible reviews. I learned from my coworker. He told me that clinics like that only exist to break down children into not having mental health issues and to act normal. Leah said she didn't shower and barely slept her entire time there. She didn't shower because someone would need to monitor her, and she couldn't sleep because it's apparently not allowed to sleep with a blanket over her face, and they had cameras in a room with an intercom to wake her up every time she did put a blanket over her face. However, she did say that she learned her situation can be much worse after hearing some of the other people's stories. She told me she's grateful for me. Yes, I did cry. I will be letting her speak at the sentencing. I didn't realize she didn't have to speak in front of everyone and that there's a lot of other options. She's into the idea of a voice memo currently, so she won't get triggered seeing her R-wordist staring at her. Maya randomly came to the house unannounced to drop off flowers for Leah. Leah told her she attempted, and I didn't talk to her the entire visit. When she left, I told Leah Maya isn't allowed here, and I'm really mad at her, and I'd like it if she limited her contact with her. She thinks I'm trying to put her in the middle, which I'm not, but after the sentencing, I will be telling her about Maya's actions towards her and how she was wrong. I was going to give Maya the opportunity to tell Leah herself, but Maya has a habit of telling half-truths to cover her lie. So we will see. I'll update you guys in the coming weeks after the sentencing and after I tell Leah about Maya. And then we don't get an update for a long time. And a month later, we finally get an update on what's happened, and the OP post saying, I'm back with a much anticipated update. So this is a long one. A lot has happened, but I want to start with the positive. Leah started therapy after the sentencing, and she's been speaking positively about it. She said it was shocking that she didn't have to talk about the assault with her therapist, which was refreshing. Her therapist also suggested some EMDR sessions, with her first one scheduled for next week. Her general doctor also cleared her to start cheer again if she wanted to, and recommended she start birth control. I'm unsure about that because I know how much of a toll it can have on mental health, and I don't want it to ruin any progress. We also moved into our new rental, and I let Leah get a kitten. That's her baby currently. I barely see the cat since we got it because she always has her. We also had to trash the majority of Leah's furniture to help her healing process. I was trying to give her the Pinterest room of her dreams, but she doesn't like the stuff she used to and wants barely any color, so it's a work in progress. She also has a boyfriend now. He asked her out on the 4th. He's age appropriate, and I know the kid because I grew up with his dad, so I know he comes from a good family. The only thing I'm worried about is that it seems like she might be becoming codependent on him. If he's not at my house, they're on FaceTime together, and every time we go out, she wants him to tag along. It's been like this since before he asked her out. I'd like to say it's been like this since Maya moved out, but I'm not too worried because I think it's only like this now because it's summer and a new relationship. On the surface, she is content for the moment. In my last post, I received a lot of negative messages because I wasn't doing things fast enough or wasn't telling my son all the details. I almost didn't want to make this post, but I want to preface that I know my children, and they know me. I'm a person who values timing. Before I said anything to my other children, I wanted to make sure I had facts, not assumptions. I wanted to schedule a meeting with the detective who interrogated Maya to tell him everything. So I knew in my heart I tried my best to hold my daughter accountable for her actions. When I met with the detective, he told me he did investigate Maya, but there wasn't enough evidence, even with everything I told him. It's not enough to indict her. So he can only charge her with child endangerment for leaving a minor she was watching in a house with a registered SO. However, he validated everything I thought and reassured me. He also told me that it's estimated that Leah's attack lasted close to 2 hours, during which 2 of the defendants had enough time to R-word her twice. and Maya never went upstairs to check, nor showed any concern while being questioned, which triggered him to arrest her. He also said he investigated a lot of similar crimes, but this case disturbed him because there were so many bystanders that knew something bad might be happening, but they did not intervene. Everyone failed Leah, not just Maya, but he advised me to keep that in mind. I met both my son and his wife before the sentencing. He was more disappointed than upset. He felt it in his gut, but thought Maya wouldn't do it intentionally. My son and daughter-in-law told me they always felt Maya was jealous or threatened by Leah. My son noticed it when Leah got her braces off and started growing into her face, attracting Maya's friends to talk to her more because I guess she's considered the nice sister among these two. My daughter-in-law said she witnessed it firsthand during the bridesmaid dress fitting. Maya refused to compliment Leah, but critiqued her instead. When my daughter-in-law told Maya that Leah would unlock so much potential once she realized her beauty and ignored her bullies, Maya said, "I know. That's why I have to humble her." My daughter-in-law thought it was weird, but didn't think much of it until now. They also told me that Maya blocked them as soon as I threw her out, and now they know why. The sentencing wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Leah said she initially thought it was boring. The character witnesses for the R-wordists were, of course, their moms and dads. One mom said that this was an awful night and that we need to stop spreading more hurt. One dad said his son was S8 at Leah's age and that Leah must have triggered that in him. Leah wasn't fazed by this. She told me she ignored them, but I could tell it bothered her. Leah decided to do a video and read her victim impact statement, and I was so extremely proud of her. All 4 R-wordists apologized to Leah in their statements to the judge, but she didn't look at them. She heard them and felt that only one was genuinely sorry. The others gave robotic responses. 2 of the R-wordists were sentenced to 10 years, but could get out as soon as 6. The one who recorded it got 12 years because of his prior convictions. And the prosecutor told me he might be in there for 20 plus years due to separate illegal content involving minors charges. Maya's friend, the one Leah fears the most, got 14 years, with the judge noting he should serve the full term and not be paroled because he got in trouble for doing something similar in the past. Leah was okay with their sentencing, though she wished they all got 14 years. She'll be notified if they get out early or if there are any parole hearings. Maya was there according to my son, but she stayed way in the back and immediately left after the court was adjourned. Some of the R-wordist families tried to talk and apologize to Leah directly, which was the only thing that freaked her out. Other than that, I think she was fine. While we were driving back home, we started debriefing everything, and I tried to explain the process of what's going to happen next. When we got home, Leah told me it was weird that one of the R-wordists referred to Maya as his friend, because there was no way Maya would be friends with someone like that. My face turned white when she said this. I knew it was time to tell her. So I said, "I've been meaning to tell you this. There are many reasons why I'm upset with your sister." She was still confused, so I explained that Maya got arrested for leaving the house, not for throwing the party. She didn't care about that. She was just like, "Oh, okay." Then I said he wasn't lying in court. He was your sister's friend. And Maya went behind your back that night to try and set you guys up. That's when I saw the moment of realization happen. Leah thought I was lying at first, but when I tried to further explain, it was like watching someone's heart break before my eyes. She cut me off and said, "I don't believe you. Maya would never be friends with someone that horrible." I just said she might not have been best friends with him, but she did have some form of relationship with him. Leah responded, "Mom, that is really bad if that's true. No one understands how mean he was to me. All day, I had to sit in the courtroom hearing he was such a good person when it's not true. Why doesn't no one believe that? I started apologizing to her at this point, and she pulled out her phone and called Maya. Maya answered with a very cheerful hello, and Leah got straight to the point, asking if she was ever friends with her R-wordist. I honestly thought Maya was going to lie, but she said she was before it happened. Leah then asked if she was trying to get her to date him, and Maya told the truth and said yes. Leah hung up on her before Maya tried to explain herself, and Leah started shaking really badly while typing on her phone. I realized now she was blocking Maya on everything. After she was done, she looked up at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Mom, why does she hate me so much? What did I ever do to her? I've been trying to be her friend, but she still hates me. Why?" We cried together for the rest of the day, honestly. The next day, Leah told me she's done with Maya and wants nothing to do with her for a while. She said that after she slept on it, she felt more mad than sad. She opened up and told me how Maya made her feel so guilty, saying she ruined her senior year and blamed herself for what happened by not being more careful, not locking the door. But to now find out that she did lock the door and Maya had much more control of the situation than she led Leah to believe makes her so upset. Then she told me that Maya has a drug problem with Adderall and painkillers, which she had sworn to keep secret because Maya promised she was quitting. I asked her when that drug addiction started, and Leah said she didn't know, but she caught her stealing her pills in April of 2023. That's when Maya confessed to the drug issue. Leah also believes one of her R-wordists was Maya's dealer, as he used to come to the house at night when I was working. Leah now thinks that Maya traded her for more drugs and never quit as she promised, which hurts her deeply. She also recounted that during the attack, her R-wordist said that if she didn't cooperate, they would hurt Maya, which makes her feel worse because she knows Maya wouldn't do the same for her. That was the last time we really talked about Maya, and that was a couple of weeks ago, but I know that it's really taken a toll on her. So that's why I splurge and let her get a kitten. Maya doesn't know our new address, but has tried to reach out to Leah numerous times using text-free numbers. Leah is not interested whatsoever. She's no longer with my parents. My mother-in-law, with whom I've never gotten along, has taken Maya in, paying for her college and buying her a new car just to spite me. I wish I were making this up, but she posted it on Facebook. The messed up part is that my mother-in-law knows about what happened to Leah and everything Maya did, but simply doesn't care. She thinks Maya is as much of a victim as Leah, and even called Leah to guilt trip her, using their dad as leverage, saying, quote, "Your dad would hate to see you fight and hold a grudge against your sister over a mistake." That's when I stopped talking to her and told Leah not to respond to her anymore. I'm extremely close to filing a civil lawsuit on behalf of Leah against Maya, since my mother-in-law wants to undermine my parenting and go against and hurt her other granddaughter by financing Maya's life. However, my therapist doesn't think that'll help me or Leah heal. But I'm so frustrated with that situation. I'm sorry there isn't a better conclusion. Other than that, I lost 3 people in the span of 4 years, and I'm not doing well. I'm really depressed. I lost the love of my life and both of my daughters. I still mourn the loss of my little girl. She will never be the same. And I can't be around my other daughter because I believe she's a deeply flawed, dangerous person, and I blame myself for not seeing it in time. I worry about anyone she comes across in her adult life. And then the OP makes one final edit/update that says, "I kind of want to answer some assumptions that I've been getting in my DMs and comments, but Maya has unsupervised probation, and I don't think she even has a probation officer. But don't quote me on that. She doesn't get drug tested. They allowed her unsupervised probation because her college is out of state. Secondly, the speed of how fast they were sentenced, Look, the only thing I can say that they worked fast for us, and again, there was no trial. They all pleaded guilty immediately. The illegal content involving minors case is still ongoing. I have no idea about how other systems work, but for the R-word case, it was fast for us. Thirdly, when I threw out the possibility of suing Maya on behalf of Leah, it's because I know my mother-in-law would pick up lawyer fees and expenses for Maya, and it was going to be a civil lawsuit. I haven't deeply looked into it because Leah doesn't want that right now. She just wants Maya to leave her alone. We had to recently change her number, and she deactivated her social media because Maya and her friends have been messaging her every day. Also, how does Leah have a boyfriend if she was just scared of her psychiatrist? Her boyfriend is a 15-year-old boy that she knew prior to all of this, and the psychiatrist was a middle-aged man that she felt intimidated by. People have also been messaging me and commented, can they read the victim impact statement? Leah is actually okay with me sharing it. She wants more people to know what they did to her. However, I'm going to veto it. The statement is very graphic and in detail. I know these posts are triggering as is, and I just don't want to share it. They were very horrible to my little girl. And now let's get into the comments about this entire Reddit thread. One person says, every update I hate Maya more and more. I hope karma is real and she gets everything she deserves. And someone replies to that and says, the drug addiction really explains everything. I know a lot of us were thinking maybe Maya was trying to join a gang. No, she sold her sister for more drugs. That context might be enough for OP to go back to the detective and report it, because Maya may be able to be tailed by them to find out who's dealing. It may be the only way to make Maya actually pay for what she did. And another person says, Maya is really just a bad person. There's no other way to describe her cruelty, apathy, and lack of compassion towards her own family. And this is the last update we have ever received from the OP. And I just have to say, I really hope that the OP and the OP's youngest daughter are doing better now. And Maya rots in prison for a very long time. She is a monster. And I hope that the OP and the OP's youngest daughter can make it through this horrific stage in their life. And yeah, just like I said, I hope they're able to move on, and I hope they're doing better now. Dad came to my apartment with toys for 2 young kids. I do not have any kids. Longtime lurker. First time poster. I am coming to you, the brains of Reddit that always find some angle I never considered, because my dad did something so wild yesterday, and I'm spinning myself in circles about it. I'm trying to settle on an answer, but nothing really adds up. I'll break it down as thoroughly as I can, but my family has enough drama that it could fill 10 novels, so I'll be very to the point about it. So I will reiterate, again, that I do not have any kids and am not married. I have never been married, never even moved in with a man. Here are the people I can think of that might be involved in this somehow. I have one brother, 27 male, and one sister, 22 female. Brother is in a long-term relationship with a nice woman, but they're both not interested in kids right now. Sister still lives at our mom's house. No kids, no longtime partner. My parents are divorced and my mom remarried. Dad stayed single. He lives with my uncle, 40s male, and uncle's wife, 40s female. Stepdad is fine. They got married after I was out of the house. Sister reports that they're normal and beige together. He has no kids and has never met my dad anyways, so his family can be removed from the equation. So here's what happened. I have a shitty, low rent apartment about 45 minutes away from my dad's house. It's on the 3rd floor, and you have to walk into the apartment building and up flights of stairs to reach my door. Yesterday, around 6 p.m., my dad knocks on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting him, so when I answered, I was confused but pleasantly surprised. I greeted him normally, and he gave me a side hug because he had a few toy boxes in his hands, like Fisher-Price toys for really young kids, even babies. I didn't say anything about them because I had no reason to assume they were for me. Like, I just didn't register them in my brain. He looked totally normal. He wasn't breathing weird, wasn't sweaty. His pupils weren't huge. Nothing was off with him visually. When we hugged, I didn't really smell anything weird. No alcohol or smoke or anything. But my face wasn't too close to his. I said I was happy he dropped by, but why is he here? He said he was in the area shopping when he saw these toys, which he then held up for me proudly and wanted to give them to the girls. I said, "Who?" And he gave me 2 names I did not recognize. I remember my brain sorting through the Rolodex of everyone I've ever met in our family Terminator style, and nobody matched. As I'm standing there trying to match the names to any kids I knew of, he peeks over my shoulder into the apartment and asks if the kids are here, or if they're with Mike again. Who is that? Well, apparently, it's my husband. I must have been radiating confusion since now my dad is looking just as confused as I am, but still keeping up a good mood kind of vibe. I tell him I am not married and have no kids. At first, he insisted I did, and when I reiterated that, he just kind of shook his head. At this point, I'm getting really concerned. Is my dad lost? Confused? Is he having some kind of breakdown? I ask my dad if he knows where he is. He starts to get frustrated really quickly and confirms that yes, he knows where he is and who I am. I start to ask him questions that I've seen in movies like, do you know what time it is or the year? And he just gets more and more angry. He starts shouting at me right in my face, yelling, "You think this is funny? And are you trying to make me look stupid?" There's bubbles of spit in the corners of his mouth. He went from 0 to 100 so fast, it genuinely kind of scared me. And I just retreated a bit into my apartment. When I backed away, he took it as a personal offense and started screaming, "Oh, now you're scared. You're scared of me? Guess I'll just F off then." He storms off, literally stomping his feet like a child down the hallway. I thought about chasing him, but he was so irate that I didn't think it was a smart move. Whole interaction was less than 5 minutes. I closed and locked my door and immediately start making phone calls. Called my mom, uncle, and siblings. Nobody has any idea what just happened. I did ask my mom and sister if I was the crazy one and did have children I just forgot about. They confirmed I certainly didn't. Uncle says that dad left the house around 4 p.m. to run errands in my area, so that part was true. I told him what happened, and he said he'd try to figure out what's going on and would call with updates. It's tomorrow morning, and I haven't heard anything back. I spent all night trying to figure this out. Here are my theories. He has another kid somewhere that none of us know about, and that kid is married with 2 kids. But if that's true, why my apartment? Did he confuse me with his other hidden kid? He confirmed he knew where he was, so I'm not sure. Did he drive here on autopilot? He'd have to get out of his car and walk all the way up here though, which should have just been enough time to snap out of it. The anger might have come from him realizing what he'd done and panicking, but it would have been so easy to make up a lie about what happened. Or another theory, he had some kind of mental breakdown. This was my first thought, but he looked and acted so normal. He drove out of here and went to a store and purchased items without issue. So he must have been in decently sound mind to do that. Maybe he was somewhere else in his mind. I considered the idea that he was maybe in the past and thought I was someone else. But again, he confirmed where he was and who I was, and I didn't recognize any of the names as anyone in our family. Or another theory, he did this on purpose for some reason. I have no idea why he would do this. Drama? Our whole family loves to stir the pot, but this is extreme and makes him look bad, which is out of character. If he were to manufacture drama, he'd want to make himself look good. So this would be a drastic switch in his dramatics. Maybe sympathy? Maybe he's going to play this up as some kind of stress breakdown. As far as I know, his job doesn't squeeze him too much. He's had the same position for years and was pretty happy about it. The most he complained about was having to work overtime every once in a while. Or possibly he's developing dementia. I know early onset dementia could be the cause, but he's just barely 50. Yeah, he's getting older, but not that old. And he's never shown any signs of cognitive failure up until this exact point. This is a huge escalation from nothing. If anyone else has any idea or theories what is happening here, please share. Uncle has yet to call me back, and my siblings can't get through to my dad's phone. I think it's dead. I left a voicemail and text on my uncle's line, but who knows if he's seen them. I don't have any authority in his life. The only one that does is my brother, and he lives in another state, so it's not like he can help much. What the hell happened to my dad? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, something is seriously wrong with your dad. Even if he does have a secret kid somewhere, confusing you for them like that is already a bad sign. Him somehow concocting a family you have and being that certain of it, along with the mercurial mood, is a really bad sign. I won't speculate to what is wrong, but your dad needs to see a doctor yesterday. And the OP agreed and said, agreed, but I really don't know how to make him go. I don't have any medical authority over him, and I think calling the police would be a bad move that would destroy any trust he has in me. Like having him dragged to a hospital after a mental breakdown has to be bad for his mental state, right? And some commenters caution against calling the police due to the risk of violent escalation, and the OP responds and says, this is also a large reason I haven't called yet. We're not white, and with how angry my dad got, I'm worried that he'll end up in jail and not a hospital bed. Or worse, he'll just be shot. But if my uncle doesn't get back to me by tonight, I think this is my only option. And another commenter says, I think it would be a good idea to talk to your uncle and see if there have been any other instances in which your dad has had a spell like this. He and his wife would be the first to notice he has been different. I worry that your last bullet point is the correct one, and it's so sad. He's young for that, but this incident would be a prime example of possible decline. and the OP responded and said, "I called my uncle right after it happened, and I did ask if anything like this had happened before, and he said no. Every time I've tried to call him since has just rang until it reached voicemail, and a couple times it seems like he ignored my call. After work, I'm going to break his door down because not only is my dad possibly dying, but my uncle is just silent about it now too." And then the OP posts an update 2 days later, and let's get into it. The post reads, "Hi everyone. I wanted to wait until I had more information to post an update, but a lot of people were seriously worried about my dad and I. So I wanted to let everyone know what happened. I finally found my dad. My uncle took him to the hospital the night of the incident and was, for reasons I'll get into, ignoring our texts and calls. Anyone who bet on head injury and drugs, you're correct. You can cash out your chips at the front counter, haha. There was no second family. I wish there was. My dad would just be in a drama-related trouble and not medical trouble. He's got a massive concussion and serious brain damage. Doctors don't know how he managed to even drive to my apartment safely. They think he was on autopilot, since he takes that freeway nearly every day. The phantom kids are his coworkers. His brain somehow blended the details of his coworker's life into his own. Coworker has a daughter who is married and has 2 kids, and the memories of being told about the girls mashed together with memories of his own daughter. Doctor says this is pretty common with head injuries. My uncle did find my dad and took him to the hospital. He did drive out to my area and scour the place looking for my dad, and eventually found his car outside Walmart around 10 p.m. Couldn't find him outside, but did find him out behind the building, harassing an employee for a cigarette. He grabbed my dad and kind of dragged him into the car and took him to the hospital. He just decided not to update anyone because, quote, he didn't want to stress us out. I don't believe him at all. I think my uncle is responsible for what happened to my dad and was avoiding us out of guilt. After I posted here, I went to work, and once I was clocked out, I went to my dad/uncle's place. Dad and uncle's cars were gone. Only my aunt's was there. I went and knocked, but nobody answered. People in my last post mentioned carbon monoxide poisoning, and I was kind of freaking out thinking my aunt was just dead inside. So I went around the house testing the doors and windows to see if I could get in. The back door was unlocked, so I just let myself inside and looked around. Totally empty. I even checked underneath the beds since a couple of people mentioned my dad could be paranoid or scared and hiding. My aunt has this giant purse and it wasn't there, which confirmed to me that she was probably with my uncle. I went back and sat in my car and started calling any hospitals and jails that came up on Google Maps. Nobody had any answers and just said he wasn't there. I even called the cops for a wellness check just to see if that maybe they could call around hospitals and get a different answer. But I waited until 11 p.m.-ish and literally nobody came. No police, no family, nobody. I drive back home and try to get some sleep. Next day I call out of work and spend the day driving around my area trying to find my dad. Couldn't track him down, so I start calling hospitals again. There's 3 in my area, and while 2 of them gave me, "No, he's not here, sorry," one of them got really nervous over the phone and said, "I'm not supposed to give out patient information." I got suspicious, kept asking, and she just got more and more flustered. Hung up and drove my ass over there and saw my uncle's car in the parking lot. It was kind of late. The sun was down, but I wasn't keeping track of time. So there were only like 5 cars in the visitor area, and his was one of them. I do not have words to describe what I was feeling, but it was mostly just rage. Like, what the fuck, hello? He's been here the whole time? I went in and tried to get the receptionist to let me see my dad. She didn't really want to let me in, and I'm not proud of it, but I started freaking out. I slammed my hands on the desk, screamed, knocked over a magazine rack. I guess my tantrum made someone go talk to my uncle and aunt since she came out to the waiting room and told the receptionist it was fine to let me through. If she didn't look so tired and sad, I was going to maul her, but the look on her face made me calm down, if you can call it that. Long story short, she took me to the dad's room. He looked terrible. None of you know my dad, but he's a beast. He's 5'11" with massive smile lines and bright, shining eyes. He's my dad, so I'm biased, but he's always so full of life. Laying in that hospital bed, he looked dead already. Sunken eyes, lifeless and droopy face. He looked empty. I was able to talk to him for a bit, but he was totally out of it. He had to be reminded who I was several times and kept forgetting where he was and why he was there. Just like my dad, when I get upset, I get angry. I practically dragged my uncle out of the room and into the hallway for an explanation. After like 20 minutes of him making excuses and beating around the bush, another reason I think he's guilty, he told me what happened. Apparently Monday morning, my dad fell getting out of his car and cracked his head really hard against the driveway. He got up and everyone thought he was fine, so they just went inside the house as normal. After a while, he had a headache and they gave him a couple of prescription painkillers to ease the pain. Apparently, that worked, so they just let him continue his day as normal. They only got concerned when I called and told my uncle what happened. He kept being so weird and evasive that I know there's more, but I couldn't wring his stupid fucking neck in the hospital hallway, so I just let it go. Here's what I think happened. I know my uncle and dad, and I know the history of this stupid family like the back of my hands. I think my dad and uncle got in a fight over something, and dad was either pushed down or hit in the head by my uncle. The altercation gets resolved somehow, and they go back to normal, but my dad's head still hurts. I learned at the hospital from the doctor that there were enough painkillers in his body to numb a horse. So I suspect my aunt and uncle just kept feeding him painkillers so they wouldn't need to take my dad to the hospital and admit what they did. I pressed my aunt about the painkillers, and she eventually halfway admitted that they weren't exactly allowed to have them at all. I suspect she bought them off someone else. They're likely addicted, and I just didn't know. I'm almost 100% sure this is their fault. If they had taken my dad to the hospital as soon as he hit his head, he would probably be okay. I'm staying at the hospital right now, and my aunt and uncle have left. Doctor says to not get my hopes up about my dad. But when doctors say that, it always means he'll actually be okay, right? That's how it always goes. They tell you that your family member probably won't make it, but they always prove them wrong. I'm sorry, but the rest of this is going to be venting. You know what really gets me? I could handle all of this. I could understand it. My uncle and aunt have always been less than reliable. I can believe that this could come from them. The hardest part is the lack of concern from literally anyone but me. I had to blackmail my brother, drama from a year ago, to even get him to agree to fly out. My mom doesn't care. Dad's family doesn't care. My sister kinda cares, but she doesn't really want to help, or even come support me in the hospital with him. I am just so shocked that I'm the only guy here for my dad, and he doesn't even know who I am right now. I have to take time off work, but it's not like my job gives PTO. I'm screwed. My dad is screwed. My life is screwed. Why am I the only one dealing with this? My brother is the only one of us with time and money to help fix this, and I had to threaten him just to get him to come back home. I wish I chased my dad when he left my apartment. I was afraid of him, but I'm even more afraid now. My dad is probably going to die, and I trusted the jackass who killed him with helping him. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with everyone? Why doesn't anyone care about my dad? Why doesn't anyone care about me? I could have been a better daughter to him. I could have visited him more, called more, involved him in more things. I could have chased him when he left the apartment. I might have gotten hurt, but I would rather be beaten to a pulp rather than be sitting in a hospital room with my unconscious and probably dying father. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry, Dad. And now let's get into some of the relevant comments. Someone says, yo, definitely get the police involved. Even if the story is true that he fell, they still pumped him up with the pain meds when he couldn't advocate for himself. It's like being drugged at a bar. I hope your dad pulls through. I would cut contact with your aunt and uncle. As a daughter, you have more rights to your dad's care than they do. Ban them from the hospital. And the OP responds and says, on this, a couple cops just came to talk to me and get a statement. They seemed to be taking me seriously and took my contact info. I told them everything about what happened when Dad came to my apartment and what my uncle said, and how I didn't believe him and gave my version of things. Tried to give as much context as I could. I think they believed me, but who knows? They said they'd come around again soon. I'm not really sure what happens from here, but I'll be pressing for more information when they come back. And another user says, ask your doctor if your dad's head injury is consistent with a fall. If he says no, call the police. I'm sorry you're having to deal with all this. It really sucks. I hope things work out okay. And the OP responds and says, I did ask if my uncle's story lined up with my dad's head, but the doctor just said it was an impact wound. Whatever that means. He couldn't confirm or deny anything, and I totally understand that. He's not a cop and can't really tell me anything about that. And someone replies that and says, impact wound would mean a lot of things. Maybe your uncle shoved him and his head slammed against a brick wall, or he fell and hit it on the sidewalk. You need to push here. Contact the police. Tell them everything you know. This should not go unpunished. Another user says, I'm so sorry, OP. I saw your post the other day, and this update breaks my heart. Please try to give yourself some kindness and grace. This isn't your fault. Following someone showing the level of agitation and aggression your dad was in, the first post could have been extremely dangerous and even potentially life-threatening to you. It might be worth filing a police report regarding the prescription drugs that your father was given to see if you can get some sort of investigation going on, since your aunt and uncle could be at fault for his current state, even if it was truly a fall. And the OP responds and says, thank you. I'm really trying to remind myself I did everything I could, but it feels like I could have done more. It always feels like that, though. No matter what you do, it feels like it's not good enough in the face of something like this. I talked to the social worker here, and they didn't seem like they were listening, but I'll push harder when they come back around again. And someone else says, did the doctor give you any medical terminology for your dad's condition? And the OP responds and says, kind of. I told him to dumb it down for me since I have no medical knowledge at all. I'm a line cook at Denny's. But he said massive concussion, brain damage, nerve damage, and cell death. He said it's pretty bad, and I shouldn't get my hopes up for recovery. He looked like he was about to throw up telling me that, but I'm going to assume my dad probably won't last long. And that is the last update we have ever received from the OP. And what a heartbreaking and just disheartening last comment. I mean, the doctor said that they don't think the OP's dad will come through or survive. And the poor OP here is just left by themselves, like they said at the end of their post, how they feel alone. Their dad doesn't care, their uncles and aunts don't care, their brother doesn't care. I mean, it truly is just heartbreaking to read the OP's post here. And the OP keeps blaming themselves, even though, to be honest, they need to go easy on themselves. I mean, really, they couldn't have done anything different. They had no clue what sort of situation was going on. And it's just so sad because, I mean, just wow, just what a crazy situation. And I wonder what really happened. I wonder if the aunt and uncle did something to the OP's dad and they tried to cover it up and fill him full of painkillers to try to make it go away. I wonder what happened on that front, and I wonder what happened after this update, but we just don't know because the OP never came back with an update, which makes me believe that the worst happened. And I'm just really sad to assume that, but I sadly think that's true. I don't know, this is all speculation, but that's just kind of how I feel. I feel like the worst happened and the OP just did not want to update the Reddit. But what do you guys think happened? Do you think this was just a freak accident and the OP's dad just kind of had a slip and fall and the aunt and uncle pumped him full of painkillers because he had a headache? Or do you think the aunt and uncle were involved in this in some sort of weird way? Or they were trying to be malicious and hurt the OP's dad? Or what happened? I really would like to hear you guys' thoughts. But wow, what a heartbreaking thread. I mean, truly, this is just almost tear-jerking. The poor OP is just left alone with no one to support them or try to help their dad. But I hope wherever the OP is now that the situation worked out in the best way possible, but we just don't know. And yeah, on to the next one. I am the reason why my husband might lose everything. My husband is going through some mental health struggles at the moment. I'm really trying to be understanding and supportive, but I'm hitting a breaking point now. Lately, whenever I try to talk to him, he shuts me down. He puts headphones on mid-conversation and plays music, turns away from me to scroll through Facebook or plays games. Even when I ask him to please look at me while we are talking, he won't do it. Sometimes he even tells me to stop this BS or pointless, right to my face. When I try to tell him that I'm not okay with this and it makes me feel hurt, he does the same thing again. I have tried writing him messages, but he only tells me, not gonna read all that. Today, when I was talking about this to him again, because it causes a lot of arguments between us, he told me he wishes he could just not be with me anymore so he doesn't have to hear this anymore. I realize he is depressed, but I basically have no way of communicating with him anymore unless he has a good day and decides that I am worth his time for a change. Even then, he tells me I caused all of this and it's my own fault. I'm begging him to tell me what I did wrong, but he never tells me. He says I should know. I can't think of anything I did that would be this bad. I always tell him I can't change if I don't know what hurts him. He tells me I should figure it out by now. He even says I hurt him when I try to initiate a conversation. When I get more firm and insist that we should talk or tell him he can't just shut down with me and ignore me, he gets panic attacks or gets very angry. Then, of course, it's again my fault. Am I the asshole for wanting to talk to him? Am I putting too much pressure on him? Is there anything I can do to make it easier for him to listen to me? I am trying all kinds of communication techniques, but nothing seems to be working. And the OP's first post, the post I just read, didn't get much attention, so no comments, but trust me, it gets dark from here. The OP then posts 5 days later with a post titled, "Would I be the asshole if I cancel my and my husband's trips to Amsterdam?" And the post reads, "I booked tickets for my husband's favorite band for his birthday. Unfortunately, they were all sold out except for one location, Amsterdam. So I booked tickets there since we always wanted to visit the city. Now we are on a different city trip to Vienna, and it is not going well at all. I planned the whole trip, kept asking him what he wants to do, but he didn't really give me any feedback, so I planned activities I thought he would like, and also some things I really wanted to do. The entire time, he has always been walking after me with a frowny face. I am trying to find my way around in the city I don't know, and he constantly falls behind me, so I have to look out for him too. He's mad because I walk in front of him and not with him, but I honestly don't notice him falling behind immediately because I'm focused on the GPS and which route to take. Today, I asked him multiple times if he is okay and why he looks so upset. He just told me it's his face and to deal with it. I finally told him that it ruins the fun for me if he keeps walking behind me with a face like I just hit him and forced him to come with me. I told him if he doesn't like what we are doing, then he can suggest anything else. I got extremely angry and told me he doesn't enjoy the trip because I'm with him. He insulted me, told me I am a bad word and extremely stupid, have a low IQ, and he wasted his life on me. He also told me he doesn't like me anymore and I'm only with him to boss him around, and he got sick of me. He doesn't want to be with me anymore, and he told me to make our trip to Amsterdam only 1 day for the concert instead of 5 days to see the city too, because he doesn't want to go anywhere with me. I told him in that case I'm canceling the whole trip. He doesn't currently earn any money, so I am the only one paying for everything, and I'm not going to let him go alone after what happened or pay so much money for a flight for just 1 day. Without me, he has no way to go see his favorite band. I feel horrible for doing that to him, but I'm so hurt by what he said to me. Will I be an asshole if I really follow through and cancel this trip? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, not the asshole. And it looks like you have two choices: counseling or divorce. He told you he doesn't like you anymore. He called you names. Counseling would help find out why he feels this way. If he refuses, you really need to just move on. Another user says, he calls you horrible names, tells you he doesn't even like you, and you're questioning whether you would be the asshole if you canceled his birthday trip you paid for? What the hell? You can't be serious. And another user says, why do you stay with him if he says such horrible things? That'd be the moment I would have kicked him out of the hotel, or at the latest at home, and told him, good, you don't want to spend time with me, I don't have to waste mine on an unthankful husband. Goodbye forever. And then we don't get an update for around 6 months, but 6 months later, the OP comes back with a post titled, my husband and I are getting a kitten. His last cat died very suddenly 2 years ago, and because the new kitten is also a boy, he wants to name him. And the post reads, I said I give him the upper hand in naming, but I still want a name that works for both of us. I've given him countless suggestions, but he denied all of them, even though he liked some of them. He chose 2 names, and it's gonna be one of those. Nothing else. The problem is, we are both in a German-speaking country, and I speak German to everyone but him. We speak English because his German is bad. Both of the names don't work well in German, and one of them sounds close enough to an insult in German, so I don't want that. When I told him that, he completely flipped out on me. Started yelling so much that he even scared the dog I'm currently babysitting. I told him I will not speak to him when he is yelling at me, and even though I said he can name him, I still want a name that works in both languages. Then I walk out of the room. He followed me and yelled that I always ruin everything that makes him happy, and I care more about my German roots than about him. By then, the dog was really scared, so I told him to stop yelling immediately, and look what he is doing to her. I said he doesn't deserve to have a pet if he can't control himself enough not to scare it. I told him to please go away. He proceeded to push me, and I almost fell on the poor dog, but luckily she is fine. He then told me that if we named the kitten anything other than the 2 names he suggested, It's not going to be his cat, and he won't even look at it, and I ruined it all for him. He says it's all my fault for pissing him off, but I ruin everything for him. I've tried everything, from choosing a name related to things he really loves, to names in a completely different language that will work with both English and German. He disagrees on everything. I simply want a name I can pronounce in German without feeling embarrassed because it sounds like something bad. Am I the asshole for not letting him name our kitten all by himself? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, not the asshole for the naming thing. It is very unreasonable of your husband to not even consider what you were saying. However, you have a much bigger issue to deal with. Your husband was yelling at you and pushed you. Is that going to happen every time he doesn't get his own way? What happens if you decide to have children together in the future and he wants his way with anything and doesn't get it? You are right. If he can't control himself enough not to scare a pet and assault you, he should definitely not have a pet, or maybe a wife. Please, be safe. And another user says, he pushed you. Yelling and pushing is how domestic violence starts. Naming a pet is the least of your issues. Run, fast, and hard. And then we don't get an update for a long time, about 9 months. But 9 months later, we get an update titled, I am the reason why my husband might lose everything. And let's get into it. 3 days ago, my husband lost his temper on me so badly that I had to call the police. He tried to strangle me multiple times, dragged me through the entire house and kicked, hit, and spit on me. The police prohibited him to come near me for the next 2 weeks now, and there's a case against him because I told them what happened. He is completely dependent on me. His visa is only valid because he is married to me. He doesn't have a job right now, so I am his only source of money. He doesn't even have a place to stay in these next 2 weeks. He is sleeping in a homeless shelter. He has back problems and it's cold where we live, so he is probably in pain because he has to be outside all day. The criminal case against him will very likely impact his stay and his future citizenship. I know it's wrong to feel that way, but I feel horrible and very sorry for him. It wasn't the first time he hurt me physically, but I never called the police for fear of what would happen to him. He has nothing to go back to his country of origin. I feel so bad that he might lose everything because of me. He blames me for provoking him, and maybe he's right. I want to separate from him. I'm so afraid of him and what he would do the next time he gets angry. But if I do that, he is going to lose everything, and a part of me feels so guilty for that. And the OP makes an edit that says, I can't reply to everyone here, but I know I shouldn't stay with him. I'm just really struggling because I hate seeing someone suffer. By law, he has to attend 6 hours of anti-aggression training now, and his first appointment will be today. I am also in contact with the local DV organization, and if I decide I want the restraining order, they will help me get it. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, it's not your fault. You did nothing wrong. By the way, may I know what caused him to lose his temper? And the OP responded and said, he kept listening to music on the highest volume on his phone. I asked him multiple times to please wear headphones. He wouldn't do it. Eventually, I just got frustrated and switched the music off and took the phone. I know it was wrong and I shouldn't have done anything to provoke him. He was on me immediately, choking me, and wouldn't stop even after I gave him his phone back. He continued to choke and kick me through the apartment, threw our wall decorations on me, and so on. I didn't want to call the police because it's kind of my fault, but it went on for almost half an hour, and I thought he was really going to kill me this time. To be honest, I wish he got arrested. At least he wouldn't be outside in the cold. If he just had a place to stay, I wouldn't feel so bad for him, but here they don't arrest for domestic violence. They just tell them they aren't allowed to come back for 2 weeks and let them go. I'm terrified that he's going to turn up behind me when I leave the house at some point. I barely go out now. And another user says, what country is he from? Asking the real questions. And the OP responds and says, Egypt. And another user says, where do you guys live? I'm sorry you have to go through this terrible situation. And the OP responds and says, we are in Europe, in Austria. It's okay. I am coping. I just wish he had a family or anyone to go to, because then I wouldn't be tempted to let him live with me again, just because I don't want him to be on the street. And another user says, it's not because of you. He is abusive. Partners who strangle are among the most dangerous abusers out there. If a victim is strangled even one time, studies show she is 750% more likely to be killed by her abuser. I know it's so much easier said than done, but maybe this is your chance to leave and put a safe distance between you and him. If you can, advise the police that this is not the first time and tell them that you are scared he will harm you in retaliation after he is allowed back. And another commenter responds to that and says, this 100%. This man is very likely going to kill you, especially now that you've called the cops on him once. He is the source of his problems, and you should not feel bad whatsoever. You need to stay away from this man if you value your life. And someone responds to that and says, this is not hyperbole. This is not internet silliness. This is just plain facts. You are in serious danger with this man. He is likely just a step or two away from killing you. The progression and timeline of what he has done to you is actually very common, and it leads to the man killing the spouse. Please, please do not take the blame for this. Please seek loved ones and support away from him. Do not ever interact with him in private. Don't even go back for your stuff. Get friends to help come protect you. This sounds bad. And then the OP posts an update 2 weeks later titled Update on my post. A few days ago, I wrote a post on here about calling the police on my abusive husband and feeling very bad for doing so because he might lose everything because of me. A lot of people here commented, and I'm thankful to every one of them and wanted to give an update. My husband was arrested yesterday. He went crazy on me again after receiving my restraining order and threatened to kill me or commit S-word if I don't let him come back home. Regardless of this, he is probably not going to be in police custody for long. They don't take it very seriously, and one of the policemen even told me I shouldn't have gotten married to a person like this if I didn't want this to happen. I don't want to imagine what my husband will do when he gets out, because he is furious after being arrested and treated like a criminal. To him, I am still at fault for all of this, and he is telling our friends that he will make me pay. I am still struggling so much with blaming myself for letting all of this happen, but I want my life back and be happy again. It'll be a long way. I can only hope that the restraining order and the police will protect me until our divorce is through and he has to leave the country. I am trying to be careful about my every move too. Even though it's hard sometimes, I know that what is happening to him now is not my responsibility. I know I will be in a better place without him eventually. And someone comments and says, your husband is the reason why your husband might lose everything. No one else. Another user comments and says, and he is a criminal. That's why he's being treated like one. And another user says, we are never to blame for someone being abusive, ever. That cop Hole said you shouldn't have married your husband, 100% in the wrong. You need to go down to the station and complain. He needs to learn some compassion and needs some professional development. Be proactive, get some cameras, ring cameras, and make sure someone stays with you to help you if you can. If you can't stay in your home, reach out to DV support. See if you can get some help. And the OP responds and says, At the moment, I'm safe because he is still locked up. I requested to be informed when they let him walk free. I already got a camera set up. I can't really go anywhere but my home, but I am in contact with the local domestic violence center, and they gave me advice on how to handle a dangerous situation. I'm trying to stay safe. I live in an apartment building, so there are always other people around, which makes this easier. And another commenter says, "Oh honey, I remember your original post. Your husband tried to kill you. Women who are strangled are 8 times more likely to be subsequently be killed by their partners than victims who are not strangled. Studies have shown, and the more times they are strangled, the greater the odds that things will turn lethal. Your husband is abusive. He is a criminal. He will kill you if you stay. Please post on Reddit so we can reassure you that leaving him and calling the police is the right thing to do. Lean on your support system. Contact the domestic abuse hotline. Get into therapy. Please don't go back to him. Please stay safe. I am rooting for you, OP." And the OP responds and says, "Going back to him is no longer an option after the terror he put me through in the past 2 weeks. In my last post, I was still in denial and would consider it, but then he started sending me death threats, saying he will F me up when he gets home, and I don't deserve to live, and I'm not even a person, just an abuse material to him. I gave the cops everything. This is why he got arrested. Beating me up wasn't severe enough to them. My husband contacted me before he got locked up, and he is furious and says it's just empty threats because he was angry, and involving the police is an overreaction, but I don't believe him anymore. I am already in contact with domestic abuse services, and when he gets out, I will go somewhere he can't find me." And this is the last post we have ever received from the OP, and I just really hope the OP is in a better place and safe, because she's lucky to be alive, to be honest. I mean, this guy is a complete psychopath. He dragged the OP around the house, strangled her, threatened to kill her, and he even said the OP was just a like abuse material to him. I mean, what a sick and depraved individual that deserves to rot in jail for the rest of his life. But I really do hope that the OP can find somewhere safe and get away from this man for the rest of her life. And I hope the man gets arrested and rots in prison for the rest of his life so he can put no one else through the terror he put the OP through. Husband finds out his brother has been perving on his wife. I, 38 male, just found out that my brother, 19 male, has been perving on my wife, 37 female. Throwaway, cause I'm still the only one that knows. Some background. My brother has been staying with us since the lockdown, after his university closed. He couldn't stay with our parents cause they just sold the house and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment, and our sister lives in a different part of the country. He was the oops baby, so I hope that explains the age gap. My wife and I have a 5-bedroom home, but currently don't have any children yet. We decided to adopt 2 kids in our 40s, so we let him stay here. My brother has always been different. He's a bit of a loner and doesn't have a lot of friends outside of his online group. He's a shy, geeky kid, but he's otherwise all right, or so I thought, when you get to know him. So here's what happened. The Wi-Fi doesn't quite reach my brother's room, so he usually does his schoolwork and other stuff in the dining room. A few nights ago, I was walking to the fridge after waking up in the middle of the night. Wife and I sleep early, and saw my brother working on something out, and as I got closer, I saw a very compromising picture of my wife. Cleavage shot as she was gardening. He noticed me and quickly closed the window like he was watching adult videos. I was too shell-shocked to say anything at the time, and he just smiled awkwardly and ran to his room with the laptop. When I realized that something was up, I knew I had to find out. The next day, I asked my brother to pick up some groceries and some lunch for us, and while he was away, I went to his room, something I've never done since he moved in. And well, it wasn't pretty. I saw a couple of my wife's bras and some of her underwear, which I can only assume he used to possibly pleasure himself. I took his laptop and, F it, decided to snoop. I knew his password because I borrowed his Crunchyroll account to watch this anime my friend recommended. I don't usually watch anime. There, I saw some of the most sickening entries I have ever read. There were pictures of my wife in a towel, her working out, her in compromising positions, etc. All taken without her consent by the looks of it. He even logs every time he touches himself to the image of my wife. The creepiest part? He sometimes listens in on us when we have intimacy. My wife can be a bit loud, but we didn't think it would be a problem since his bedroom was in a different part of the house. Guess bedroom. I left the room feeling like I needed to shower. It was absolutely disgusting. Now I don't know what to do. I find myself fighting the urge to pummel him into next week every time I see him. I haven't told my wife yet because I'm 100% sure she will feel violated and disgusted, so I want to find the best solution first before doing so. I so desperately want to kick him out, but he has nowhere else to go. Even if I do, what should I tell my parents? The truth? This will most likely break the family apart. I do plan on telling my wife soon, but if I do, I can almost guarantee she would want nothing to do with him and would never want to visit the family if he's around. I'm so lost right now. Any advice will help. Still fighting the urge to beat my brother to a bloody pulp. Edit. If you're wondering, I did take pictures as proof. Small update. I told my wife. The Redditors who said I should tell her first before anything else because she was the victim were absolutely right. I'm giving her all the power to decide what to do about it. A lot has happened, but there are still things that need to be settled. Too long to add here, and too incomplete to make a new update post. Hopefully we'll have everything settled tomorrow or the day after. I'll write the update once everything is settled and I calm down. No, I'm not going to beat up my brother, but I have thought about it. And to the people asking for the pictures, you're disgusting. Hope the women in your life are proud of you. That's my wife. Please have some respect. And now let's get into some of the top comments on this post. Someone says, this is extremely disturbing behavior, and he might not even realize the gravity of what he's doing, though he does know that he can't be caught doing what he's doing. I think you guys need to have a talk, maybe in the car, one-on-one. You need to tell him how you saw the gardening photo, went and found your wife's undergarments in his room, and the entries, etc. There might even be more things you don't even know about. He'll probably try to refute part of this by saying you invaded his privacy by going into his room, but legally, it is your house, and you had rightful suspicions. Not sure what the legal case is for logging into someone's laptop though. This would be an upsetting conversation for me to have personally, but try to control your emotions. I'd tell him that this needs to be stopped immediately, or he has to leave. Conversely, if you feel like you can't keep this from your wife, or you simply can't stand to have him around anymore, then I think you're completely justified in kicking him out. Either way, I think it's important to call out this behavior. He may have been doing this with other people in his life, girls at his university, or maybe just getting started. This could be the wake-up call to stop being a perv. And the OP responds and says, he's 100% leaving either way. I can't keep this from my wife, and she will definitely want him out, as I do too. The only concern here is what it might potentially do to our family. Sister will most likely take my side, but I don't know what my mom and dad will think. Family gatherings are going to be here from now on, and there's no way I'm letting him back once he leaves. And then we don't get an update for a few weeks, but we finally get an update, and let's get into it. This update was long overdue, so I apologize to everyone who waited for this. I've had daily messages asking me about what happened, and now that I'm in a better place to actually talk about it, I can tell everyone about what happened. First of all, thank you to the Redditors who pointed out that I should tell my wife first before confronting my brother. You were right. She did appreciate the fact that I gave her control over the situation. I told my wife the next day after posting, and needless to say, she did not take it well. She says she feels violated and unsafe in her own home. See, the thing is, my wife and I have been together for almost 15 years, so we literally saw this kid grow up. We took him out to the movies, to the beach, etc. We sometimes even joked to my parents that he was our practice baby. My wife has a tendency to distrust people in general, as a lot of people in her life have let her down in the past. Imagine how hurt and betrayed she was when she found out someone she trusted and loved dearly betrayed her like that. Honestly, if I wasn't consoling my wife then, I probably would have gone through with the initial idea and beat the ever-living crap out of my brother. After she calmed down and went to sleep, I called my sister and talked about the situation. My sister and I are close, given that we're Irish twins. I feel like she needs to know because she has 2 teenage daughters herself, and who knows what my brother would do to them if given the chance. We talked, and she was clearly mad. She loves my wife like a sister, and they're quite close themselves. She said she would support whatever decision we make, and that our brother would also be unwelcome at her place for the foreseeable future. Then we confronted my brother. At first he denied it, but when we showed him the evidence, he started ugly crying and begging us to forgive him. I gave him an ultimatum. Either he lets me in his phone, laptop, and delete everything, or I call the police. There was so much more shit on his computer than I initially thought. So many more stolen pictures of my wife that were definitely taken without consent. He even recorded the audio of us having intimacy. Who does that? So after hours of me looking for as much stuff as possible and pretty much clearing out most of his hard drive, he eventually left without much of a fight. Oh, and we definitely threw out my wife's defiled underwear and are most likely going to have the room he stayed in cleaned professionally. I checked, and thankfully, he didn't have any hidden cameras anywhere. Oh, and if you're wondering how we got pictures of my wife in a towel, the shower for the masters doesn't have hot water yet, so my wife used the share one in the same area. She would usually walk out of the bathroom with just a towel and go change in our walk-in closet. This shouldn't have been a problem because the guest room was in a different part of the house, far from the main bedrooms, and it had its own bathroom, so my brother had no reason for being there. Needless to say, my wife is still shaken up about the whole thing, which is why I didn't think about writing an update until right now. I'm sorry, but my wife's well-being is my priority above everything else. My mom eventually called me asking what happened. She seemed very confused, so I figured my brother didn't tell her anything at all. I told her what happened, and needless to say, it did not end well. She kept asking me to forgive my brother and take him back. She ranted about how difficult it would be to support him, and how what I'm doing is breaking the family apart. I let her talk until I eventually said my brother would no longer be welcome in my home. I told her that she needed to get him therapy, and that until then, there is no chance we would ever see him. My mom told me she talked to my sister about it, and I said, good luck. She's mad at him too. Not sure what's going to happen to our family now. The reason why we got the big house was because we wanted everyone to come over during the holidays and stay with us, but I'm not sure if my parents will at this point, and there's no chance my brother is ever coming back anytime soon. Thankfully, my sister is 100% on my side, and we're going to talk about what we're doing for Thanksgiving soon. My wife hasn't really been the same either, but she's getting better now that my brother is gone. We're talking about therapy, which is something she's very willing to try out. We took a drive to the beach earlier. Chill, guys, we didn't leave the car, and talked about the future. We both agreed that after this whole pandemic thing is over, we're going to finally start our family with kids. We want two. Being a mom is something she always wanted, but we both wanted to be financially secure enough to give them a good life, and for us to be in a good position where we didn't have to work so much and just spend time with them. The sparkle in her eyes when we talked about our life together with kids told me that while things aren't good right now, we're going to be okay. I honestly can't wait to be a dad myself. So yeah, long story short, my brother is gone. Wife is still sad. Sister is on my side, but mom isn't, and I'm going to be a dad in a few years. Thanks to everyone who gave me their advice. It honestly helped me clear my head and make the right decision to tell my wife first. Oh, and to answer questions that may come up, no, we did not go to the police. My brother deleted everything voluntarily and left without a trace. I'm sure the pictures are still out there somewhere, but thankfully, they aren't too explicit that it would severely damage my wife's reputation. And no, we aren't going to try and get pregnant or anything like that. We plan on adopting, which is something we both talked about early on. So again, thanks to everyone who messaged and commented. I may not have read everything, nor have I replied to everyone, but rest assured, you are all greatly appreciated. And that is the last update we have ever gotten from the OP. My new boss that I've never met asked me to come to their home. Is this normal, or should I be concerned? Hi all, I, 26 female, recently accepted a remote job after 2 rounds of interviews. The job seems to be with a legitimate company, and the owners I met over Zoom match up to the website, but after accepting the job, I was never sent anything to sign. They haven't done any background checks or even asked for my full name or date of birth. It is a small business, so maybe that's not odd and it just slipped their mind. The part that made me a bit uneasy is that during the interview process, the owners stated the position would be fully remote and there was no mention of travel even for training. Now that I'm hired, in quotes because there's no proof and I haven't signed anything, they've asked me to travel about an hour and a half to one of the owner's homes for training. I thought this was odd because although the company operates remotely, I'd think they'd at least want to meet somewhere public because we're all essentially strangers at this point. I was still trying not to overthink it, but after telling some family members about this, who owned their own business in the past, they expressed that this isn't normal and I need to be careful walking into someone's home who I don't know. I tried to communicate my apprehension with the owner, and they stressed that going to their house was extremely important in the training process. Can anyone offer any insight? Am I thinking too much into this? Thanks in advance. Editing for more context so no one thinks I'm a clueless moron. This job is in a very niche industry that I'm extremely qualified in. I did criminal searches for the names of the owners through the state they reside in and searched for home addresses to no avail. I thought this was strange also and wanted to confirm my suspicions. Edit again so everyone will stop insulting my intelligence. I am not going. I posted this to confirm my suspicions that this isn't normal and will be saying no and expressing that this situation has made me feel extremely uneasy. Thank you for everyone's input. Although, let's get into some of the top comments. One person says, "This sounds shady and I would abort mission ASAP if I were you. And the OP responds and says, this is what everyone is telling me. The company looks legitimate though, and the owners are female also. I'm really torn because I don't want to turn down a good remote job, you know? And someone else says, stop being an idiot because you are desperate and want a remote job so badly. Everyone is telling you this is a terrible idea for a reason. What was the point of asking if you're not going to listen? I'm sorry to sound harsh, but that's a legitimately dangerous scenario. Take care of yourself. And the OP responded and said, no, I am listening. I wanted to confirm my suspicions that this is extremely odd. And then we get an update 3 days later, and let's get into it. The OP says, first off, I want to thank everyone for their advice. It was extremely helpful to have others chime in to validate that this whole situation was extremely odd and inappropriate. It made me feel confident that I could put a boundary in place that my safety was non-negotiable. Now on to what happened next. Like I said in my previous post, I stated I felt unsafe to the owner. They then replied that they could give me a ride to their home, costing close to $200, which gets rid of the theory they didn't want to rent a space due to money concerns. I declined the ride and then repeated my concern about safety going to their home and asked if we could do the training remotely or if we could meet in a public space where I could possibly bring someone. I thought this would make them second guess their behavior because surely any rational person wouldn't want to make a potential employee feel unsafe. Nope, that's not how this went. They sent me a long email back telling me that essentially the only way I could have this job is if I go to the owner's house. They stated that they could not hold meetings anywhere but their house due to information privacy concerns. Please keep in mind this is not a government job or anything where sensitive, confidential information would be exchanged. They then went on to say that I could absolutely not bring anyone. So bottom line, I would have to show up to their home alone. The kicker is, they then stated that they've second guessing me as a candidate because I voiced these concerns and they only want like-minded, collaborative employees. Moral of the story is listen to your gut and stay safe when searching for jobs. I'm not sure what is going on here, but I'm happy that I didn't go. I'm not sure if I should reach out to the job posting site that I originally applied on to let them know about this. I just don't want anyone else to end up in an unsafe situation because they need a job. Thanks again, everyone. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, whether or not this was a plot to murder OP, there is so many red flags about what they were asking her to do. I can't believe she even needed to ask Reddit about this one. I guess she hasn't seen enough horror movies. And another commenter says, I mean, obviously it was a scam or trap or criminal operation of some sort. No question there. It's very clearly sketchy AF. I can't help but be curious about what kind though. Was she going to get abducted like in Taken? Or was it some kind of desperate Amway pitch? Fortunately, we will never know. And someone replies and says, exactly. This is one of those rare occasions where I'm happy that the conclusion is boring. And luckily, that is the last time the OP ever posted about this, but that last commenter we just read there is totally right. It is great that that last update was boring, because otherwise it could have been horrific. The OP could have been abducted or kidnapped or something horrible. I mean, I also find it especially scary that in that final email the OP had with the quote-unquote job was they reiterated for the OP to go alone. They weren't allowed to have anyone with them. To me, that's just so scary. How like if the OP would have gone, they would have been completely alone in the middle of nowhere, and who knows what was waiting for them at the, entrance of this house. But what do you guys think? Do you think the OP was going to get murdered, kidnapped, abducted, or what sort of operation even was this? Obviously sketchy, but what was possibly awaiting for the OP? But luckily, the OP seems safe and sound, and hopefully they ended up finding a good remote job. Am I overreacting? I'm super creeped out by a man I went on a date with. I, 30 female, was talking to a guy, 30 male, that I met on Tinder a month or so ago. I've been on these dating apps off and on for a couple months, and wow, it's rough out there. I was about ready to delete them all when I matched with this guy. We hit it off super well. He was thoughtful, funny, and could genuinely hold a conversation. After a couple days of talking off and on, we moved to Snapchat. I only use Snap to verify someone is real and to avoid giving my number out, as this story will explain exactly why not to do that, lol. We talked through most of the following week and a half. I really liked him. So when he asked to see me on that upcoming Friday, last week, I was very excited. I'm a single mom and have a pretty high-level job, so I'm left making decisions all day, every day. And he knew that, so he suggested that he would love to plan the whole date for us. He seriously sends an itinerary, lol. He bought us seats at a black light painting class and then to an arcade bar where we were done. Even suggested to wear comfy shoes since we were going to be standing most of the night. It was so thoughtful, and I was honestly pretty impressed. We meet in the painting class parking lot. The class was so much fun. When we were done, he even asked if someone could take our picture holding the paintings so we could look back on it. At the time, I thought it was pretty romantic. As we were leaving, he asked if I wanted to have him drive us to the bar. I agreed. I was really looking forward to it. The night continued to be so much fun. I kicked his ass in pool and ping pong, and after we got tired, we decided to stop next door to this cute martini bar to end the night. While we were there, it somehow was brought up that he would never approach a woman in the bar. He asked if I would, and I said yes. I have in the past. So flirting, he asked to show him how I do it. So having a ton of fun, I got out of my chair and started role-playing, lol. I came up and said, "Hey, my friend over there thinks you're super cute," pointing to across the bar. Then I literally made a sprint for it and run to a chair across the room. Then wave, lol. At that point, we were both laughing so hard. I came over and asked for his number, since at that point I only had a Snapchat. A little bit later, he gets a phone call and steps out. I thought nothing of it. It was loud in there. But then maybe 10 minutes later he calls me, saying I need to come outside. So as I go outside, I notice he is all the way down the street. It was odd. I walk down there to meet him and he says, "My friend just called. She's having issues with her boyfriend and wants me to come stay with her." At that point, my balloon popped, lol. I somewhat understood. I've guy friends, but it was weird and I resigned to the date being over. I said, "Okay, well, let's just go then." It was late anyways. He says no because he told her that he can't just leave me. I took that as he wants to go but feels like he can't. So I insisted. "No, please, take me back to my car. It's okay." Because okay, even if that were true and he didn't want to go, why would he have me close the tab and walk down the whole street to just tell me that? He didn't have to bring up that call at all. He said he didn't want to, but would because I asked. So this is where it gets scary. The drive home was weird and silent. Once we get to my car, the parking lot was empty. It's dark, it's maybe 12 a.m., I get out of the car and so does he. I hug him bye, but then he just doesn't let go of me. He tells me that I don't have to go. I say yes, I'm leaving, and try to kindly push him off of me, but he doesn't budge. So then I say very directly, let me go. He lets go immediately and holds his hands up like I'm being crazy. I walk around to my driver's side door, but he follows me. He stands between me and my car. He asks if he can have another chance and tried to hug me again. I step backwards, avoiding it. He then suggests that we can still have intimacy if I wanted to. I said no. So then he said, can I at least get a goodbye kiss? I said no again. But then he kept asking, please? Come on, so then I did, thinking he'd let me go if I did. He opens my car door for me and I get in, but he just holds the door open, standing there like the actual man emoji, saying nothing. I say, what? Please shut my door. And he asks if he can have another chance. I honestly felt like he wouldn't shut my door until I agreed to it, so I did. Then he says, call me when you get home. I say, I'll text you. He said, no, you're going to call me. Then shuts my door. But then he just stands there, blocking my car. So I hesitantly roll my window down and tell him to move. He asks again if I'll really give him a second chance. As I'm slowly driving away, trying not to hit him, I yell, sure. To that, he comes back up to my car, making me hit my brakes, and puts his hands down on my windowsill / rolled down window and says, okay, call me when you get home. And I say, okay. I drive off immediately and start crying. I was so overwhelmed. I don't text him or call, but maybe 20 minutes later, he calls me on Snap over and over and over again. I turned my phone off. I figured I just needed some sleep and maybe I was overthinking things. I did have a couple of drinks. The next morning, I get a long snap from him saying how impressed he was by me, and he's so sorry about that phone call. She's just a friend, and that he wants another chance. I respond, calling him out on his behavior, and that he's apologized for the wrong thing and that he terrified me. At that point, he video called me again on Snap. I could see that he was at the grocery store, if that even matters, LOL. I blocked him. Then he called me on his cell phone. I blocked that. I continued to block him on everything, even if we didn't follow each other. On Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Tinder, Hinge. Maybe an hour later, I get a text from a random unsaved number with an enormous message from him, starting it as, I realize you've blocked me. I'm not trying to intrude or stalk you in a way, but ... And then profusely apologized for the way he made me feel and that he won't ever reach out again without consent. I blocked that number. I didn't respond. If I had to guess, that was from his work phone that I had seen in his car. When I was getting out at the bar, I said, oh, you forgot your phone. And he said, oh no, that's just my work phone. A week goes by without hearing anything. But then I get a message from Social Flowers. I was confused. I never heard of it before, but I guess it's flowers you can send anonymously with a super cringy message. My birthday was in a couple of days. It said pre-birthday wishes, like petals kissed by dawn. They carry a tender wish, unfolding sweetness to wrap your heart in light and warmth. A quiet gift to brighten your soul's garden. These flowers hold my wish to mend any missteps. Each petal a quiet regret and hope to make it right. You left a lovely impression. I'd love another chance. Then he signed his Instagram handle instead of his name. WTF? I declined the flowers. After a couple of days, I hadn't received anything, so I thought maybe it was over. But then, while I was at work, I get a notification on Snapchat that blocked user has created a new account. This was the random number he texted me from, assuming his work phone. I had saved it under his name and blocked just in case. I'm glad I did. I immediately blocked his new Snapchat, scared that he would try to add me or reach out again. I'm so confused because my friends are laughing it off as if he wanted to, he would type of jokes. But I'm genuinely creeped out. I've bought pepper spray and am constantly looking around for him when I'm in public. Am I overreacting? What do I even do? I feel like something should be reported. I don't know to who or for what, but this does not seem normal. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, not overreacting. In the future, do not get into a stranger's car. You should have followed him in your car to the second location. You put yourself in a bad spot. Once he had you in his car, he could have literally done anything, taking you anywhere. Also, do not let yourself get lured away from the bar down the street. Bars have cameras outside most of the time. There's no reason he couldn't have talked to you in front of the bar. That should have raised several red flags for you. I honestly would have told him I'd get an Uber back to my car at that point so he could go to his friend. The apps are rough, and there can be a lot of creeps. Some of them show their cards right away with D pics or their aggressive messages. I had one guy demand me to give him an extremely detailed explanation of my intimate drive and how I anticipated it changing if he gifted me a child. It was his third message to me. Yuck. Some hide it better until you meet them in person. That's why I think you can never be too careful and always need to make sure you stay in public and have your own transportation home, especially on the first few dates. I'd rather be an overcautious worrywart than stuck in a bad situation. You are not wrong for being creeped out. He is way over the top, and I would also be scared/uneasy. Going forward, I recommend using something like a Google Voice number on the apps to text/call on once you go off the apps. It doesn't link back to you in any way like social media or your cell would. You can always just delete it and get a new one if something like this happens. I met my boyfriend on an app. He was very sweet and kind immediately, but I still don't think I gave him my real number until we were a half a dozen dates in. Better safe than sorry. Also, your friends are being crappy to you. You're scared. Even if they think it isn't dangerous, they shouldn't be invalidating you by making it seem cutesy and fun. His behavior is not that, even if it doesn't rise to the level of hurting you. You can report it to the police, but it'll honestly be a waste of your time. They will not do anything about him being a creep. If you're friendly with a neighbor/coworker, I would give them a heads up so at least if he escalates to finding your house/work, you'll have people aware of what's going on. And then another user says, this guy is a creepy effing weirdo. He's the worst and scariest type of guy to a woman, I'm sure. Someone that can be charming, thoughtful, funny, and just an all-around nice guy, seemingly. 2, I'm about to strangle you and dump your body. Who the F acts like that? What a freak. You definitely didn't overreact. And I'm sorry, but your friend group are all assholes. I wonder how they'd react if the roles were reversed. I think you should definitely be hyper vigilant at all times from now on, and always have your mace in hand. I don't know what country you're from, but I'd maybe try and get some bear spray instead of pepper spray. I've seen plenty of people not really react to pepper spray, but every single time I've seen someone sprayed with that bear spray, it has stopped them in their tracks. Good luck, OP. Hopefully this creepy guy doesn't try to contact you again. And then the OP makes an update post on the same post, which reads as follows. I'm so glad I posted this because I genuinely see how serious it is now. I haven't dated much, so this opened my eyes quite a bit. As for a few of the comments, I want to elaborate on a few things. I did report him to Tinder. We were out for about 6 hours. I had a drink while painting, then a drink at the martini bar. I was not intoxicated. I realize any amount of alcohol and driving is unsafe, but I was willing to take that chance in order to get away from him as quickly as I could. Hell, I even kissed him. It is not something I would have done in any other circumstance. I have alerted my manager, since he knows where I work. And it doesn't make sense to me either. Why would he do this? I was confident he was such a good guy until we left. It was like his personality completely flipped, which left me confused and doubting myself. Since he seemed so genuine and sweet for weeks that I was actually going crazy trying to justify how things ended with him. Like maybe it really was just a misunderstanding. I realize now it wasn't, LOL. And I'm so glad it happened on the first night. I can't imagine how things would have gone if our relationship progressed and he got my address, because I really would have looked past that phone call. Lastly, for those of you asking, this is what he sent from his work phone after I called him and blocked him. And the text reads as follows, quote, "I understand that you've blocked me on everything, and I completely respect your need to cut me off. I'm not trying to intrude or stalk you in any way, I swear to God. But this text is just to express how deeply sorry I am for what happened. I had no idea you felt scared or mistreated, and learning how my actions affected you has shaken me to the core. I was at Walmart at the time I read your text, and I was stunned. The Walmart employee came over to ask me if I was even all right. I stood there 5 minutes in shock, unable to move. There was clearly a miscommunication on my part, and I take full responsibility for that. When I stood there by your car as you were leaving, I thought it was a normal gesture to ensure you drove off safely. Something I've always done out of care, to make sure the woman leaves before I leave. But I see now how it came across differently. And I'm heartbroken that I made you feel trapped or held hostage in any way. You had every right to feel the way you did, and I'm so sorry for not recognizing your discomfort in the moment. It was never my intention to pressure you or make you feel unsafe. I swear on my mama and God above. That's the truth. For the past several weeks we've spoken, I've tried to be so respectful and kind, always seeing you in the best beautiful light. You're truly the most beautiful woman I've met, inside and out. I swear to God I wasn't raised to act with bad manners or ill intent, and knowing I made you feel otherwise has left me shattered, changed. I deeply regret failing your honor and your boundaries and making you feel anything less than safe and respected. I don't expect a reply, and I want you to know I won't ever contact you again unless you choose to reach out first. I respect your decision completely. I just needed to share this to clear my conscience and let you know how sincerely sorry I am. I'm committed to learning from this and ensuring it never happens again. I wish you nothing but peace and safety moving forward. My deepest apologies once again. It is my hope to make it right by you." Seems like a genuine message at first, but considering what he did after he sent it, makes me think he's just a really good talker. Probably how he got me to trust him so quickly. And honestly, this was somewhat of the reason why I felt like I was overreacting. Anyways, for those of you that read all of this, thank you. It feels good to have the support. I'm planning on reporting it to the police, and if anything else happens, I will file an order for protection. If anything else comes of it, I'll try to update. And then we got an update 3 days later, and this update reads as follows. For those of you who saw my last post, I thought I'd give another update. It got worse. I was supposed to go out the other night with a friend to the clubs downtown, relatively around the same area we went in that date. And luckily, I had other plans, so I couldn't go. The next morning, I wake up to phone calls from that friend that went out, telling me to call him as soon as I got up. He proceeds to tell me that him and his friend were at a bar when he gets tapped on the shoulder. He turns around, and it's the guy I went on a date with. He apparently was going around asking people if they knew me. Mind you, this man does not live in this city. He lives about an hour north of where I am. My friend, not realizing who it was at the time, said he knew me. The stalker proceeds to ask him where he could find me or if he knew how he could contact me. Obviously, all of his alarms going off. My friend said he didn't know me well enough to have any of my information, but asked him why. The stalker says, last time we talked, we had a miscommunication and I just need to clear things up. I just want to talk, man. I just want to talk to her. My friend quickly shuts it down, says he won't be much help, but that if I wanted to talk to him, he's sure I would have reached out. Left it at that. He took pictures of him and the friend he was with. I immediately called the police, only to find out my neighbor, I live in a duplex so we share the same house, said that last night someone was ringing our doorbell at 1 a.m. My dad came over and installed Ring doorbell cameras. The police are patrolling my street. They said I have enough to press charges of harassment and stalking. Thank you for everyone that responded to my last post. Without most of those comments, I'm not sure I would have been realized how serious this was. Since then, my friends have apologized and are fully supportive. One of them is sleeping with me tonight. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, wow, how could he have found where you live? Do you think he followed you? Stay safe and please keep us updated. And someone replies and says, from experience being stalked, he likely kept fishing for people who knew OP and came up with nonsense stories to get their contact information. From there, all he'd have to do is reverse search online using that info. Example, if he had OP's phone number, he could find their full name and home address using sites that can find people. And someone else says, WTF, it's like after that phone call, he supposedly had a deadline to make, or they were gonna off him. You just made me delete Tinder. Gotcha. And someone else says, wow, that is so effing scary. And then the OP posts a final update 2 months later, and let's get into it. The OP says, hi everyone. So I don't use Reddit often, so I'm not too sure how to post an update. Hopefully this works, haha. But to give a final update on my last couple of posts, this is how it ended. I'm still shocked and trying to wrap my head around it. I had originally left out a part in my first post. It was already so insanely long and it didn't seem relevant at the time. I kept out the part where I ran into acquaintance during the first date. I had met this guy one other time. Let's call him Corey. And he was with a girl. Let's call her Megan. I met Corey several weeks prior at a bar. He was a part of the friend group I was with and just took him as the typical super fun gay guy in the group. Since that day, he had been hitting me up almost weekly asking me to hang out. I don't go out often, so that combined with being a bit weirded out on his persistence, I never met up with him. Fast forward to the day I had the date. He reached out again, asking if we could go to the bars, but I said that I was going on a date and would not be available. He asked where we planned to be, and I told him, not thinking he'd actually show up. Later that night, he shows up to the martini bar we were in. He introduces me to Megan, but then for some reason, they both sit down next to us. That's when my date got the phone call. So while he was outside, I was with these two people. But where it gets strange is Corey was the one I was supposed to meet with that night, but didn't go. He was the one that called me to tell me that the stalker had been going around asking people if they knew me. But then Megan comes into the picture. Apparently, when they ran into the stalker downtown, the stalker was with a guy that Megan would hook up with according to her, but didn't know well. After that night, she all of a sudden started sending me messages letting me know how brave I am, that she's so sorry this is happening, this is so crazy, blah 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 blah. and then sending screenshots of her friend asking about me. She even sent screenshots of him asking her to set me up so the stalker could come talk to me, but she insisted she trusted this friend. It felt off. Something was weird. At one point, she did ask me to come hang out with her and Corey, but she would say they'd keep me safe and nothing would happen. Quote, let's just have a fun night to get our mind off of it. At first, a part of me was thankful I had them looking out and sending me these warnings or having insight, but then all of a sudden, like a switch flipped, I had this super weird gut feeling that they were involved somehow. I don't know, but it was like my reality shifted. I realized every single thing they had to do with the stalker looped directly back to them. They were involved in every moment. I was going crazy trying to figure out if it was coincidental, but I never ended up hanging out with either Corey or Megan, despite their continued persistence. I eventually called the police and filed a report. They found him and told him if he ever reaches out ever again to me or any of my friends to find me, he'd be arrested and served with a restraining order. From that day, I literally never heard from him, Corey, or Megan again. A few family members think they were just mixed in and were innocent, but my friends think it was more sinister. With all that said, I'm okay, I'm safe, and a hell of a lot more careful when it comes to dating or meeting new people, which I don't plan on doing anytime soon. I appreciate the support from all of you. You really seem to care. The world needs more people like you. And that is the last update we have received from the OP. Am I overreacting? I'm not. To my pervy boyfriend, hidden camera in 19-year-old daughter's room. I have lived with my boyfriend for a few years. We both have kids, but none together. I have a 19-year-old daughter, and we just found that he hid a camera in her room. She found it, he admitted to it, and I kicked him out. We aren't living together anymore. Relationship is clearly over. What I'm not clear on and want to know am I overreacting about is whether or not it's worth it to press charges. No red flags before this. If there's no way he's done this before and there isn't anything concerning on computer or phone. Yes, adult videos, but no hidden camera or girl material. Should charges be pressed that can ruin his life and potentially send him to jail? And let's get into the comments and people's advice. Someone says, just because you didn't find anything on the computer doesn't mean the police can't. And the OP responds and says, true. Someone else says, exactly came here to say this. Usually people who do this sort of thing have hidden folders and apps that are used to hide these types of images. I would report it for a few reasons. Number one, to send a strong message to your daughter that you are in no way softening the blow for the perpetrator you brought into the house. Number two, the police investigation will allow your daughter to have closure, one way or another. Number three, this is a registry type of an offense. You can't allow him to get away with violating your daughter and potentially being in a situation to victimize others. Say he gets work in a group home. What's to stop him from videoing his unsuspecting clients? I've worked with minors who are victimized, and they are often inclined to protect the perpetrator and in an effort to spare their parent of guilt or other negative responses. She may not have known the abuse was occurring as well, or consider this violation as abuse until years down the road when she gains life experience. You want to send the strongest of messages that you will always do whatever is in your power. Any less and you are siding with the abuser. And someone responds to that and says, this 1,000,000%. Your child deserves justice and he deserves to be in a registry and behind bars. You don't know how long this has been happening. He could have sold videos of her to other creeps in the internet. And someone else says, press charges. That's so effing wrong and messed up. What a piece of shit. And the OP comments and says, I agree. I'm heartbroken and having a hard time seeing the situation objectively. And then we get an update 7 weeks later. And let's get into it. The OP says, you may recall my prior post about a hidden camera in my daughter's room. Did I think I was overreacting? No. Was my daughter conflicted about ruining his life and his children's lives? Absolutely. Thankfully, I was able to gather so much insight from this group about similar situations and facts to arm her with the ability to make a decision to move forward pressing charges. It's going to happen soon. Also, after our 3.5-year-long relationship, he has the clear conscience to move on dating someone else. Here's the worst part. She has kids. She has also been told about what he's been accused of, and she either doesn't believe it, believes whatever excuse he's making up, or feels like she can see past it. Gross. Just gross. I'm still left heartbroken and hurt and having a hard time getting through each day without anxiety over my future and wondering how it can be possible that I will ever trust another man. For now, I'm putting all of that to the side as much as possible to support my daughter in this legal battle to come. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, thank you for standing up for her and helping her to stand up for herself. As a daughter of someone who has a pervy husband, it will mean a lot to her when she gets older. That guy needs to be stopped, and hopefully a lawsuit will help the new woman realize that this is a legitimate, serious issue. And the OP responds and says, he's ruined his life and mine too. Of course, I'll be able to have a guilt-free future without a criminal record. I'm so proud of my daughter, and I hope she finds empowerment in being able to take control of this awful situation. Someone else says, your life isn't ruined. I would argue that your life is better without this asshole. Your trust is broken, and that will take time to fix. But your life isn't ruined. You should both feel empowered. And the OP responds and says, I appreciate hearing that perspective. It definitely feels ruined. I don't know how long I'm going to afford to stay in this home, and the reality of that situation is grim. I'm working a second job now, but really need to see some career growth to make this doable. And that is the last update we have ever received about this situation. My wife is dead. The best Christmas present I could have ever gotten. My wife is dead. At the beginning of 2022, I caught my wife having an affair with one of her exes. Our marriage wasn't perfect. I was not the perfect husband, I will admit, but I did my best. I put effort into the entire 5 years we were together. I put my all into the relationship. Her, I could not say the same. I was forced to confront the reality of who she truly was shortly after I caught her. She illegally evicted me from our shared home, lied to the police to try and get me arrested, tried to get me fired from my job, and tried to turn all of my friends against me. Some of these succeeded, while others did not. She has made my life a living hell since the day I asked her for the divorce, and has planted her heels into the ground over our separation to try and drain all my finances and emotional strength from me. The only upside is we had no kids for her to use as weapons. But I soon found out that her strict policy of birth control with me did not extend to her suitor, as he got her pregnant 5 months ago. I thought maybe this would help speed along the divorce, but it only rallied her in her efforts to destroy me. On Christmas Eve, my wife and her suitor went to a party where both of them got drunk. I find this fact terrible, as all her friends knew she was pregnant as well. Her suitor drove them home, a mistake that would cost them both their lives. In the state I live in, our divorce is now considered to never have even started. I will be able to claim her life insurance policy for myself and move back into my home. Her parents called me up distraught yesterday, acting as if the last year hasn't happened, and offered their full support to my funeral preparations for her. My confusion here was beyond belief, but the apple does not fall far from the tree when it comes to my wife. I told them if they want a funeral, it was coming out of their pockets. I will pay for her to be cremated and deliver her ashes to them in the cheapest urn offered if they desired. They called me horrible and tried to guilt me about her life insurance. But after only 4 minutes on the phone with them, I hung up and blocked every one of her family's numbers. I'm going to be taking a few extra days off work to move back into my house over the next week. I've already made arrangements to have her stuff hauled off, so my home will be an empty canvas to start my life anew. I don't know if there is a God or if this was just karma, but I truly believe now that I have come out on the other side of this storm. And then, now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, make sure to block all her scumbag friends as well. Have her shit delivered to her parents' house. Then, live well. And the OP responds and says, I cut those people out of my life when they turned on me due to false allegations that I had video evidence to prove wrong. If her lies being exposed in 4K are not enough to convince them, they are nothing more than anchors to be released in the sea. And someone else says, a lot has happened to you in a relatively short amount of time. Please, keep an eye on your own health and well-being, dude. And the OP responds and says, looking inwards into the void is not something I want to do right now. Once I can sleep in my own home again, I will peer into that darkness. And then the OP adds something in the comments and says, judge me how you will. I will not argue with how many actions influence others' opinions about me. I just know that if the situation was reversed, my wife would be shopping around for a sports car with the life insurance money she collected on me. And then the OP posts an update a few days later, which reads as follows. I have decided to elaborate on a few common threads I see in this post here, as responding to all the comments would be too much. Firstly, some are judging me for the way I'm reacting to the death of 3 people. You're right. It is not normal, nor is it healthy. I feel no emotions toward my ex at this moment. All my hatred, resentment, and regret evaporated when I learned of her death. I feel nothing but relief right now. This void has slowly consumed me over the past few days. I feel numb, like I'm dreaming, like what happened is not real. This woman made my life a living hell for over a year. She set out to destroy me and would not stop until she did. I do not like the fact that I feel this way over the death of 3 people, but that is not a box I feel ready to unpack this moment. Secondly, I've reached out to my ex's mom today, and things are much more civil as of now. I'll pay the hauling company to move her stuff into one of their storage units, and they can figure out the rest. Her mother revealed to me that they cannot afford to host a funeral for my ex. I am 100% the legal beneficiary of her life insurance. Despite my past hatred for her family, I told her mother I will give them a small amount from her life insurance so they can have a service and arrange burial logistics for her. This is contingent on us cutting ties after, and I will not be involved any further in her funeral. I will still be talking to a lawyer. Lastly, I'm not going to elaborate any further, except the only lives lost was hers her suitor, and their unborn child. Some are saying that I should sell the house. Right now, I only want to return to my home. The details of where I end up, either there or somewhere over the rainbow, are yet to be determined. I do not know what life holds for me, or for any of us. This event happened, maybe for a reason, or maybe the universe has no logic at all. This gift put an end to a period of my life that sent me to the brink of destruction. It's morbid to think that the death of 3 people was what pulled me to the other side alive. It's interesting how quick it can all change or end. And that is the last update we have ever received from the OP. OP was wrongly charged with murder after her mom died in hospice. And buckle up, guys, because this one is truly nightmarish. The OP's first post was titled, "It's Time," and reads as follows. Yesterday morning, I got the call that mom had suddenly fallen unresponsive and that I likely had less than a day to try to get back to Georgia to see her before she was gone. The call coincided with a 1 in 1,000 year weather event that grounded all flights, trains, or hope of a rental car out of the Northeast for at least 24 hours. I bought 3 plane tickets of $1,000 each, only to have them canceled one after another. Then, late last night, we found a flight leaving Washington, D.C. today at 5 p.m. Now we're on the Amtrak from New York City to D.C. I feel exhausted, defeated, trying to suppress the hope of arriving in time to hold mom in my arms once more before she's gone forever. I half wrote a eulogy at 4 a.m., and now my brain can do nothing but cycle through memories and strip me bare of every emotion but agony. In one of my earliest memories, I'm sitting on the floor of my parents' powder room, watching mom get ready for bed. The house was quiet save for the exhaling walls as they settled in the night. Just outside the powder room entrance, the sheer curtains billowed in the breeze coming through the screen door that opened onto the bedroom balcony. Cricket frogs called from across the pond, and the Canada geese circled above, their honks increasingly urgent until interrupted by the sound of their bodies shearing the water's surface, then all silent until the lonesome train announced itself in the distance. Staring up from my nest of toys on the carpet, mom appeared like a mythic goddess, tendrils of her waist-length blonde hair falling to the floor like fairy floss. Every now and then, she'd stop and smile down at me. "What are you doing, baby brat?" Not long after, she'd tuck me into the king-size cannonball poster bed before slipping in beside me. Wordlessly, just as I began to drift off, she'd slide her hand over to catch mine. 2 squeezes a question. Love me? 2 squeezes of my own. An answer. I do. She squeezes twice more. How much? We squeezed our hands tight in unison. We never had to wait for an answer. And then the OP adds in the comments, says, "Thank you all for the kind words. I arrived yesterday evening at 7 p.m. and though mom isn't registering much, at least not that we can tell, I've been able to hold her and kiss her and sing her favorite songs and read passages from her favorite books. She's very close now, and hospice says the moment will come any minute. But now that I'm here, those minutes feel torturous. I want so badly for her to finally be free. I keep telling her it's okay to let go, that I'm here, and that her mama and daddy are coming to get her soon." And then the OP posted a post 8 days later titled "The End." And the post reads, "Mom died in my arms on July 12th at 6:56 a.m. 6 hours before she drew her last breath, she surfaced and saw me. She'd essentially been non-responsive aside from furrowing her brows, groaning, and staring blankly since she was found non-responsive and doubled over in her chair on Sunday. But soon after midnight before she died, she saw me and responded for the first time since my arrival on Monday night. I was kneeling beside her, face to face, as she laid on her side of the bed. I was telling her how much I loved her and would miss her, and for the first time, I sobbed openly in front of her. I'd previously been reassuring and maybe a little professional / chaplain-like, but I no longer could restrain my emotion. I told her that I was crying so hard because I love her so much. And for the first time, her eyes focused on me and scanned my face as she tried to speak, raising her brows and flexing the corners of her mouth to communicate. I told her that I heard her and loved her too, that I will always be with her and she with me, that I'll miss her terribly but that I'd see her again, that one day I'd be right where she is, but that I'd be happy because I knew I'd know she was waiting for me. I couldn't stop crying, but I played her some of her favorite songs and she rested her eyes again as I kissed her face. A few hours later, she began to struggle to breathe, her jaw working hard as her hands and feet grew cold. I held her and told her how much I loved her and how I was with her and how everything would be okay until these spaces between breaths grew longer and harder until they stopped. And we don't hear from the OP for 2 years. And 2 years later, the OP comes back with a post no one was expecting. The post was titled, "I was wrongly charged with murder after my mom died in hospice from Alzheimer's and cancer. Now I'm trying to prevent the same thing from happening to other caregivers." Bear with me because this is going to be a wild and horrifying ride. That said, many of you in this community may recall me, as I was a frequent poster throughout my mom's brutal decline from Alzheimer's and cancer, and another user linked my story in here after my arrest back in March. Now that I'm free, I want everyone who has loved one with dementia, especially if they plan to ever go on home hospice as well as I did, to know what happened. In July 2023, I was called by my mom's home hospice provider. She had end-stage multiple myeloma and Alzheimer's, and told I needed to get down to Georgia, from where I live in New York City ASAP. She had been found doubled over, non-responsive, with an oxygen saturation in the 70s, and blackening fingers and toes. She had been declared actively dying by hospice staff, and I was told on the phone that she had hours to days left to live. My husband and I got there as quickly as we could, grabbed our comfort kit from the house. My mom had only been in assisted living / memory care for 3 months at that point, but had been on hospice for several months before, which was when the comfort kit was prescribed to us, and set up a bed in her room. After 3 days with no responsiveness to anything but a pained face as she was turned, she had 2 large bed sores and no food or fluids, along with no urination or defecation. My mom began to experience severe breathing difficulties. Despite repeated requests, the hospice company had not prescribed a comfort kit or morphine to the assisted living facility itself, which led us to rely on my mom's comfort care kit and hospice instructions via phone. Sadly, the single dose did nothing to alleviate her respiratory distress, and she died as expected. Unfortunately, her death was reported as suspicious that same day, and 19 months later, in February of this year, I was charged with 2 counts of murder in the state of Georgia. Felony murder and malice murder, both of which carry the possibility of the death penalty. Luckily, I had collected ample evidence, much of which didn't seem to have been available to the medical examiner and district attorney. These included eyewitness testimonies to her death and days leading up to it, videos and photos of her condition. I'd been planning legal action for suspected malpractice, so I was documenting everything. Proof of her prescribed morphine, phone and text records, as well as hospice records that showed she had been declared actively dying, and that I was called down from New York City to be with her. With this new information, the medical examiner updated her cause of death, and it was no longer ruled a homicide. The DA then dropped all charges in August, and I was released from my $200,000 bond. Though I was cleared, the experience devastated me. I lost my career in a science/medical copywriter, my life savings and my husband's, my family. They cut all contact as soon as I became a suspect, and my reputation while grieving my mom's death, and the agony of both cancer and Alzheimer's, and fighting for my own life. But now that I'm free, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that what happened to me never happens to anyone else ever again. While on bond, I'd spent months researching how this happened to me, and I realized that none of it would have happened had the hospice company kept an official record of the fact that, number 1, I had been given a comfort kit, number 2, I was authorized to administer the medications, and number 3, the medicational use had been regularly recorded by hospice to confirm appropriate use. Because there had been no records aside from my own documentation, the assumption seems to have been made that comfort kits are not allowed to be used by families, only by medical professionals. In fact, several attorneys I spoke to after the incident expressed shock that lay people were ever allowed or told to give morphine to dying loved ones, as many believed it was illegal. However, millions of American families are prescribed and instructed to use comfort kits with their dying loved ones every year. When I was charged, I had no idea there were no legal protections for this use. It's why I assumed, after being accused, that everything would soon be cleared up once investigators realized this, but no one ever seemed to. I realized then that what happened to me had exposed a huge gap in our home hospice care system. While caregivers are routinely provided comfort kits, no legal protections exist to shield them from criminal allegations once their loved one passes away. This is very different from healthcare providers who are protected from such allegations. Now I'm proposing Marsh's Law in my mom's name. This law would mandate that, as soon as families are prescribed a comfort kit, hospice would document and confirm that this kit is for the family to use in accordance with their training/guidelines. At this point, families would be able to keep a record of their comfort care use, including the dosage and symptoms that prompted it. Finally, on a regular basis, hospice professionals would verify this use so there's a clear record of documented/authorized use. Such a law would have prevented what happened to me. But until the law I want becomes a reality, I want to post the following advice for everyone here, because if this happened to me, it will happen again to someone else. Number 1, once your loved one goes into hospice and you receive your comfort kit, ask your hospice nurse/provider if you can make a video recording of their instructions for its use and try to record them giving you the permission to record. This is important depending on state laws. Not only will this help confirm that you are indeed the authorized person to give them these medications, but will also help you remind you of the exact instructions if and when your loved one begins to experience distress. Number 2, Keep your own document recording comfort medication use, including the amount and symptoms that prompted it. Even better if you can get the hospice provider to sign and verify. This way, if someone accuses you of abuse down the line, you have some documentation of appropriate use that is witnessed by a medical professional. And 3, finally, and this is the hardest/worst part, if your loved one is in a profound distress and nearing death, recording their condition and symptoms via video may prove critical in giving investigators and medical examiners needed context for their death. My videos very likely played an important role in my case, as some people at the facility she was at had falsely alleged online that my mom was singing and dancing just before she died. Videos, photos, and hospice's own records of her condition proved otherwise. These videos and photos, since they are so triggering, as hidden in a private folder on my husband's phone, so I never have to see them. And that is the last we have heard from the OP. But that's some good info at the end if you are ever in a scenario like that, because I just never knew this was a possibility. If you are taking care of one of your elderly or just regular loved one who is suffering from some sort of disease or whatever. I mean, the reason I found this so nightmarish was that the OP lost their mom in such a horrible and sad way. And soon after, they were framed for murder. And the OP was very lucky to have all of this evidence to defend themselves with, because who knows? Maybe the OP could be in jail right now. I mean, imagine your mom dying and then you're framed of killing her, and you almost go to jail and you have to spend a ton of money on court fees, and you lose your job, you lose all your relationships like the OP said here. And I mean, just such a horrible, horrible situation. But yeah, this was just a nightmarish case in my opinion, because I never knew something like that was possible. But I just hope that the OP is doing better now. And all right, guys, that wraps up 3 hours of some horrifying Reddit threads. I hope you enjoyed this long video. If you did, please comment down below your thoughts, criticisms, feedback. I read every single comment, so please comment down below, and please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I mean, if you watched the end of a 3-hour video, that means you enjoy the channel enough. So yeah, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow my Instagram and follow me on Spotify. It really does mean the world. And thank you guys so much for listening. Like I said, it means the world, truly. And yeah, thank you guys for the support, and thank you guys so much for watching. And this was Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.